Right. All right. The title of this, Billy, They Them Told You, Billy. Is it time to close the petting zoo chapter? Petting zoo is Bullets for Teeth reference that he calls the PUA circle jerks. You know, well, I find it also in the narcissistic abuse community too. Pretty much all the bubbles that positively reinforce degenerate behavior.
My dad his nickname for me he used to call me Pet, and that used to piss me off big time. It used to
Pet?
infuriate. Yeah, it's like instead of like, "Hey son, come over here," or "Hey Billy, come over," you'd be like, "How you doing, Pet?" I'm not a pet,
Right.
but it's like, oh, that's how you see me.
Right.
Yeah, so I found there's a huge disrespect, even though I was little kid. I guess I
Yeah.
learned early on how to that disrespectful language of treating someone. Uh,
Right.
and now in my older years, I can see how that is a very mean thing to be calling your child,
Right.
and how to view them as.
Right. Yeah.
Now you just reminded me because you talk about the petting zoo.
Yeah. So how was your well, because I saw this stream the other day where you went over into some petting zoo culture and you were threatened to retract something.
Yeah, well, so for context, um, Alice was doing a stream,
Yeah.
um, and I was sort of curious to see the aftermath of my stream, so I popped over,
Yeah.
uh, which is a mistake on my part, really. I was being a bit curious and nosy. But I heard my name being mentioned, so I was like, oh, okay. And I can't remember what she was saying, but it must have been in the realms of sort of like, this is nonsense. So I decided, all right, to rattle the cage a little bit. I was like, hello, I'm here.
Right.
Now, obviously, from their point of view, they must probably think like I'm watching every stream and like a hawk, and um, like some sort of obsession or something like that. But it was like hands on heart or whatever. I swear. Um, it's just a little, I never regularly visited or even randomly visited Alice's stream or channel in general before. So
Right.
this was like an odd occasion or whatever, out of the blue sort of occasion.
Did it come up in your algorithm?
Um, she has been popping up more so in my algorithm, um, mainly the comment section and the community section.
Right.
Um,
Because she's been tagging you.
has she?
Yeah, she's been tagging you and stuff. And like the title of this stream was "Who is Good Mother, aka Mandy?" Hashtag crazy woman on YouTube. Hashtag truth over lies. Hashtag her own words.
Well, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so I thought this stream would be focused on that title. So that's why I was kind of like, oh, my name's being discussed.
Yeah.
A bit odd, considering the subject matter. So I thought, all right. And I perked up in the chat and I was like, hello, I'm here. And then suddenly she sees me and starts addressing, all right, Billy, I'm glad you're here, sir. And starts calling me sir quite a bit,
Right.
be condescending. But then I kind of got into a tussle with the chat box, so I was a bit. I couldn't follow what Alice was saying, and I think because the conversation in the chat box was progressing. From her point of view, she was just like, "Well, I could let her. She could let her moderators or members deal with me, and then she could just carry on talking about whatever she wants." So I was being like, she could see I was being contained or dealt with.
Yeah.
But she was getting very in the beginning. She was very worked up. Maybe is a way of putting it. She her tonation, her rage or anger, her frustrations, etc. Was evident. Like she was pissed off, kind of thing.
Oh,
She
yeah.
wanted to put me straight.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
But
and
then,
you know what I noticed? She was blaming you for what I was doing. I thought that was fucking weird.
yeah, I mean, I didn't really catch how she worked that one out,
Right.
but the general vibe or gist of what I was getting is like a rewriting the script or the narrative, or a distorting the truth, or twisting things.
Yeah.
So I wasn't taking too much. I wasn't taking it too seriously, or gonna believe what she was saying to me. Like she mentioned about a interaction, because she brought up her parenting video, the 41-second video,
Right.
and she was trying to talk about what led up to it. And from my point of view, that's regardless of the topic at hand when we're talking about that subject of that 41-second video and the dispute we're having, me and her.
Right.
Regardless of what happened to lead up with it is irrelevant, or doesn't really matter. So as soon as so it's like my system shuts down. I know you're trying to take me on a tangent and skirt away from the point being made. So this is a tactic, this is a strategy, this is deflection, this is trying to dilute, or this is controlling type behavior.
Right.
So I'm only listening with one ear, but then I'm more focused with what's happening in the chat box. At some point she starts to her the way her tone was like being aggressive and infuriated with me. She sounds a lot more calm, like she got it out the system or whatever. But by that point, I'm more focused with the members in the chat box. In the beginning, I think there's only one member that was leaving messages. I was like the second person to start writing. And then all of a sudden, all these other people started joining the chat box, and it's like, get him.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And calling me
because Latin Patriot was the first one.
Yeah.
Another bastard factory. She's got 4 little bastards. Ages, what did she say when I talked to her? 17 to 4.
Now I'll give them a credit where credit is due. Like, I mean, I thought I was going to get timed out or blocked or something like that, and they didn't do that. They let me hang around.
Right.
I appreciate that, and I can thank them for that. That's decent of them.
Yeah, there was one person that's like told Latin Patriot to moderate your speech, and she said no. Something about no, we want to see what he types or something, because they're recording this interaction for some kind of proof of something.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was a bit of an odd one. Like, moderate his speech. It's like,
yeah.
What does that mean? Are you just do you want me to be on timeout regardless of what I'm saying? Or because I wasn't calling people shitheads or throwing insults or
like this KC person was, and
like a troll, like the classic kind of trolling, like
yeah,
making snarky or witty sort of to sort of instigate trouble. I was there for the famous clarification.
Right.
So, yeah.
You know what I thought was funny? Cinnamon Sugar Glider was in here doing what Cinnamon Sugar Glider always does. And Latin Patriot kind of checked her a little bit and said, Cinnamon the Sugar Glider, please refrain from commenting. And then she shut up. And then guess who started speaking? Scorp Thought started saying the same thing Cinnamon Sugar Glider's been saying for months.
Yeah, she annoyed me a little bit towards the end.
Yeah.
She wanted to call me a bully and started saying like, "Oh, did she have a gun to your head?" Like referring to you. Like, did Mandy have a gun to your head? I was like, no. Alice is the one that had a gun to my head. She's the one that wanted me to talk with her, wanted clarification, threatened a lawsuit.
Right.
You know, the sort of proverbial hands being tied type thing.
Yeah. Yeah, not people who use it for evil, though. Yeah, like after this interaction, it makes more sense that Cinnamon Sugar Glider's celibate scorpion. Because you know what? She kept saying, and I couldn't find it anywhere. I couldn't find where because she mentioned it in Sir Eustace's chat a few months ago when she was talking to Davina Duckworth. Just that randomly when she was still allowed over there. She said that she tried to warn Celine. And I saw her say, I tried to warn so-and-so. And I'm like, I didn't find that. But Cinnamon Sugar Glider's been everywhere trying to warn everybody. And they said the same thing to you that they've been saying to everybody else. Because you did this retraction. Yeah, okay, I retract. Happy now?
Yeah, well, that's under duress. I mean, they didn't really care about it. Well, one of them seemed to be a bit sort of, well, it's nice of you to retract. But what might... It's splitting hairs because according to Alice, I wasn't attacking Alice, I was attacking her son. So if I'm retracting, what am I retracting against? Going after her son?
Right.
Which isn't really what she wants. She wants me to retract what I said towards her. But for her, like the sort of child abuse accusation, I suppose. But but to own up to that, yes, this is the problem she has in a way, because to say, if she was to turn around to me and say like, no, Billy, I don't want you to retract what you said to my son. I want you to say sorry to me. Then she shows that it's all about her and it's not about her son.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the spear tip, she wants to make it sound like this is everyone going after her son and we're all evil and we're the ones that are abusing her son. But then when it comes to claiming the sort of the benefits from it, doorbell delivery, I'll be back.
Go for it. Yeah, so Billy, you don't complain when all GM does is talk about Alice 24/7, every single video. See, I think this is a guilty conscience. I think the crazy bitches just assume when I talk about other crazy bitches that are just like them, they feel I'm talking about them just because the behavior is the same. Yeah, something I thought was strange too. I don't know who this Casey person is. Yeah, Mandy. Billy the Goat, you are Mandy's property now, and if you leave her side, she will turn on you now for your retraction. See how these crazy bitches think? They think along the lines of property and power and control. Hmm. I didn't listen to Alice. Let's hear a little bit of Alice.
Then she didn't like me after that. And then she jumped on board. Now, mind you, the woman was wearing a tank top while she was talking, eating, and having a good old time with Mandy. Meanwhile, she's thinking I look like a Butch Dyke just because I have a grill. Do you realize that I've had a grill since 2004? It's nothing new. I just decided to wear it just to see what people would say. And boy,
Justifying her strag behavior that apparently isn't strag behavior, according to some PUA members. Sis William Mitchell, you're so smart, Alice. I support you because I know who you really are and how great of a mother you are. Fuck everyone who stands in your way.
it's been an adventure this last year
Mm-hmm.
of seeing all the stereotypes people come up with, the things that they just assume. The grill experiment, y'all have all been a part of.
The grill experiment. Yeah, okay, Alice. This is somebody who claims conservatism and displays anything but.
All right, I'm back. Sorry.
Sorry.
That wasn't my delivery. That was my neighbor.
Oh.
He wanted if I could borrow a soldering iron and some bits and pieces.
Yeah, going back to what Latin Patriot said.
Yes.
After your retraction, she said, Billy the Goat, you are Mandy's property now. If you leave her side, she will turn on you now for your retraction.
What about it?
That's the narrative that they've been pushing. And they're like, oh, if you disagree with her, she'll turn on you or something.
Well, I mean, why would someone say something like that? Is to make me quake in my boots and to try and manipulate my perceptions and the way I'm thinking. It
seems to be a female fear-mongering tactic. That's what it looks like to me as a woman.
I mean, there's more to it, but I'm not sure how to articulate it.
Well, for one thing, it's demeaning. I mean, like, to think about property like that.
Well, yeah, I was mulling over the word of disrespectful.
Yeah.
You know, first of all, you call me like property, you treat me like a dog, and then you'd be like, all right, now your owner is going to be angry with you. So it's sort of, are you trying to be nice to me, or are you trying to what is it?
It doesn't sound very nice.
There's an element also of sarcasm there as well, or snidiness. But I'm not really taking any of what they're saying seriously, or taking much credence to what they're saying as authentic or genuine. I noticed they're trying to be like funny with calling your name like Man D or Man Da. It's like,
Yeah.
isn't that a joke from Friends where they had I don't know if it was a transsexual or something, but the name was like Amanda. And I remember one of the girls being like, "Oh, I get it now. A man, duh."
Okay. So it's from a show. I was wondering what the fuck that even meant. Yeah, because I've heard him. Okay.
Well, I don't know it might be like an old joke that's kind of gone around for or coincidence, but it's not exactly it's like arf arf arf, like well done,
right.
like seal clapping for that one.
Right.
How much brain cells did it take to come up with that one? Yeah, funny.
Okay, that makes more sense.
If you wanted to be funny, like if you just put the letter M in front of Alice, what do you spell?
Malice.
There you go.
I like I thought Malice and Tucky was way more fucking creative. It's because like a lot of people have been calling her Malice because they know how fucking malicious this crazy bitch is. And then Sunkiss was calling her Lice for a while. And then a bunch of the Gulag people were like, "Oh yeah, no, she reminds us of Pensatucky on the Orange is the New Black." So I just kind of smushed all those together.
I mean, my name Billy, like, it's very close to being spelled like the letter I and U are next to each other on the keyboard, so you can easily misspell my name and just call me Bully the Goat. And funny enough, I think it's Celibate calls me a bully later on.
Oh yeah,
but.
Yeah, it's funny that Celibate Scorpion uses the man D, so does Latin Patriot. It's like I called out that they were all fucking, in that little sisterhood, but the men talk about all the damn time, like months and months ago. It's like these people want to like stay in these bubbles, but I'm like, no, the crazy bitches from all the bubbles interact with each other and like transfer information from one bubble to another.
Yeah, there's not really much to this stream, really. It gets to a point where I'm hanging around for a while, and then I notice that Alice has sort of moved on from talking about me. So I'm thinking, right, there's no point me staying here. I'm not exactly welcome. So I'm out of here. I'll see you a lot later, And then it feels like they were trying to like keep me present, like, "Oh, where are you going?" sort of thing. Like, "Oh, running up, are you?" I was like, well, it's like a little bit of like a Hoover. It's like, well, it's not, I don't need to be here, so I'll see you a lot later. And then I think it's Celibate, maybe I'm wrong, but she's like, "Oh yeah, spoken like a narcissist." It's like,
yeah.
And it's rich coming from her, I mean,
right.
I saw her talking like on Hermit stream that time, where it was painstaking. Like they're saying, like, "Look, Scorpion, like this photo of you, your first trapping," and she's denying it until like, like an hour and a half later, she's like, "Okay, all right, maybe I was first trapping."
Right.
And then there's that clip of her doing the food shopping, buying all this vegan stuff when the person's giving her a shopping list,
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so she wants to try and pin me or make it seem like I'm the narcissist here and all this. Like, fine, whatever. You know,
Yeah. I'm starting to think, well, I mean, I've had this thought before. I never really honed in on it though. Just passing thought. Because when I see a lot of women that I would identify as being a crazy bitch, they're always pointing at like competent, normal people and calling them a narcissist. So I'm like, when did the feminists start like weaponizing the psychology field to
oh,
undermine men? Because I'm
well,
like, there's got to be tons and tons of people out there that actually aren't narcissists. They're normal people just speaking the
yeah,
truth,
yeah,
and they get accused of being a narcissist.
yeah, and there's and unfortunately, a large percentage of that kind of smearing is effective, and people's, their lives can be flipped upside down, or a stigma could be attached incorrectly,
Yeah.
or they can cause a lot of damage. But I suspect there's a bit of a two-prong, at least from what I can see at the moment, problem with this. The first, well, I suppose it starts off with the unhealthy person, which results in them becoming toxic and abusive, with their survival instinct and that aggression and looking for combat and wanting to strike people down, etc. They want they want weapons.
Right.
So when they come across something that hurts their feelings, they assume this will work against other people.
Right.
A couple of examples is like man shaming.
Mm-hmm.
So they think man shaming will work on men because they themselves have been shamed and it touched their soul or their core.
Right.
It rattled them. So they're like, well, it upset me, and I don't think of you as a separate person or someone any different. They assume you're just like them. So if they've been hurt by it, then ergo they can hurt you with the same words or sentiments or something like that.
Right.
This is one of the problems they have when it comes to like the MGTOWs, because it's not really an official tenet, but it's like you hear it being said now and again. It's like you can't shame a MGTOW.
Right.
Try it and it doesn't work. But that doesn't stop the toxic people
From
still
trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I saw this with Alice's follow up to my stream. Not saying this is proof, but I was like, you never heard me going "ree" before, but
Right.
on that stream I did. Now suddenly Alice was doing rees.
Yeah.
So how she was mimicking me.
Yeah. She's been doing this the whole damn time.
I don't know if
Like
before.
I have documented how because she psycho watches all of these streams. She'll pick up on some of the words, but then she'll misuse them. Like she tried to say in one of her little rants, she was saying Hungarian dialectic or something.
Right, and that follows the sort of trademark of people like this, where this would come under the classification of character traits acquisition.
Yeah.
So they're observant. So they might watch someone and be like, "Oh, this person's very charitable. Okay, how can I use that to my advantage? All right, I'll." So for their mask or their chameleon, their performance, they'll start mimicking the charitable behaviors, like oh, that person did a blood transfusion. Okay, I'll do one too, and I'll get some bask in the sort of moonlight or whatever by proxy. And
But how much of that is just normal human behavior modeling everybody does?
But correct. Like we all have this knack, whatever.
Yeah.
But for someone who is, I'm not In my opinion,
Hey,
okay,
hold on, Billy. It comes out like a homunculus when they do it.
well, if you got
It's
someone with
not right.
if you got someone with zero sense of self,
Hmm.
then you can see how they have to formulate, they have to construct some kind of facade of a presence, of a personality. So
Right.
I call it like being a Frankenstein monster. So
Yeah.
they take bits from movies, take bits from people, and they mash it all together to create some sort of artificial, um, produced persona.
Right.
So when you're dealing with someone who's like a narcissist, you're not real, and you're looking and you're observing the character traits. These do not really technically belong to the narcissist. These are acquisitions that they've taken from other places.
Right.
So sometimes, depending if how well you know this person, you can spot the like where the limbs have come from. They'd be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I recognize that arm. I
Yeah.
recognize that ear. I recognize that, where that came from."
You know
Um,
what though? I wonder how much of that, because it's so superficial. It's like, because I see a correlation with these kind of people and like a lack of fucking attention span. They're very high, like I don't want to say high energy because they're really not. They're just so damn scatterbrained that they can't really focus on one thing. So they're not really looking to the deep core of it. They're so superficial that they just take this piece and they put it on the outside and they're like, okay, that
right.
looks shiny and pretty. But
Yeah.
they don't give themselves a chance to embody it because it is so fucking artificial
Well,
and
you
superficial.
yes, right. The magic word there is the superficial, or the key word, because that's what it
Yeah.
all is really. There is
Yeah.
no way for them to internalize it or take it on board and call it their own, because to do that requires a sense of self to begin with,
Right.
and they're trying to reject a sense. The authentic, true version of them is something they want to reject.
Right.
So the whole point of narcissism with the exchange thesis is to body swap.
Hmm.
So yes, all these Frankenstein attributes and character traits and body parts, it becomes the mask, and the narcissist tries to pretend they are the mask,
Right.
but that's not who they really are. And the thing is, this mask is constantly fluctuating, because they'll show you, for example, they'll show you one type of mask, they'll show me
Right.
another, they'll show me a different mask, and they'll show their friends a different mask. And this is why the
Right.
narcissist wants to keep these social groups separate, because should any of these social groups start swapping information, it'll be pretty evident. It's like, are we talking about the same person? Because I'm sure it sounds like you're talking about someone totally different. I've never seen that before. It's like, well, yes,
Right.
because they were different. They were pretending they were an actor, so they were role playing someone else when you were like whoever it is they're dealing with.
Mm. Yeah, I wonder. I also, when I think about this, it's like it's the quantity over quality kind of people. It's like you have to have all these different bits and pieces of all this different stuff that you add on to yourself, because it's like just having like 4 very, very basic core values that drive yourself
Well, yeah.
aren't
So
good enough.
yeah,
or
well,
something.
they can't have quality. To have quality implies a bit of value, appreciation, and gratitude, etc.
Mm.
So I'm not sure if it's like to compensate, but so the flip side is to therefore be quantitative and have lots of things. So this is why when it comes to weaponizing in tools, they're not happy with just one spear. They want all the spears and all the other kind of possible weapons to better. The more stuff they can acquire,
Right.
then in their mind, the better equipped they are. So yeah,
Mm.
it can go overboard, where it's like if they're taking character traits and they're trying to be the ultimate chameleon,
Right.
the ultimate actor that has played every type of role in movies and story or whatever, it eventually it starts working against them because they they're no longer iconic in a way. There's no more speciality. There's no more uniqueness because
Right. They haven't mastered any one of those tools.
no, and this is why it's also argued that people who are hoarders are narcissistic because narcissists don't like throwing away things. They like collecting. I mean, they kind of make the analogy that they store their stuff in the garage for a later, or they put it on the shelf. They put people on the shelf and pull them, retrieve it when necessary. So the way they make their relationships and their interactions and all this acquisition and everything is a form of hoarding. And they don't like throwing things away or discarding it because everything belongs to them. They're entitled to everything. And, it could be of use later on. But, so we talk about like the stages of narcissistic relationships. There is the idea, you've got the idealization, then comes along like a devaluation and eventually a discard. But in truth, there is never really the discard is only part of the cycles, because later on they could hoover you, they could recycle you back up. So when we talk about like healing and recovery, we have to make a point to the victims that the true discard doesn't come from the narcissist. It comes from the victim of it. When the victim says, no more, I'm out.
Yeah.
Then the narcissist is screwed because this victim has escaped or whatever, or is no longer the control.
Built a wall.
Right. Yeah. So we see like the idea therefore is like when a narcissist discards is part of that ruse or part of that act. It's a form of control, and quite often when they discard you, it's because they're kind of occupied trying to acquire another source somewhere else. There's only limited time in the day, and their reach, they have got limitations. They can't love bomb the entire planet. So they have to focus they have to focus their energy in certain directions. So while they're focusing in other places, they have to put people on the back burner for the time being, So they'll say like people like, you're being discarded now. You're on the shelf, and that keeps the discarded person busy because they'll blame the person they're discarding, like you're a bad utensil for you failed in your duties, so I'm leaving you. It's all your fault. Go to therapy. You're the one that's you're the narcissist, and this is so leading into that other part. Now, unfortunately, I think some of this is in part our fault as well, or wider society. Like there has been a uptick in awareness of psychological disorders amongst the masses. People are becoming more aware. They might not know. They might not necessarily know the lingo or the terminologies, but that people are wising up now. And unfortunately, one of the mistakes the victim makes is they start learning, especially when they're learning psychology, is they start hearing the words narcissist and they feel empowered by such information.
Right.
They then make the mistake of going around saying, I see a narcissist, and they blurt it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I even made that mistake in the very beginning to my ex, where I was like I was still calling her like honey and sweetheart or whatever, and I'm like, honey, I think there's some mental disorder going on or some mental illness. I mean, and then I uttered the word narcissism.
Yeah.
Not realizing that I made a boo-boo. So.
Right. I did that one time, and the dude went from fake crying to rage. Like that.
I mean,
I was like, shit, where's my gun?
I made 2 boo-boos away. Like, during that period of time, I said it to my brother as well, and he flipped the shit out. Like, how dare you call me a narcissist and all that.
Well, I
I was
didn't
like,
even I didn't even say it. I just agreed because he was like he's like you're not trying to say I'm a narcissist, are you? And then I thought about it because I'd never used that word, and I was like thinking about the traits, and I was like, yeah, actually, maybe you fucking are.
I mean,
And
yeah,
it went from whiny crocodile tears to fucking pissed.
right.
I was
I mean,
just like, whoa.
yeah. So it's become a popular buzzword,
Yeah.
and I mean, I call it the new N-bomb.
Yeah.
And it's spread. The reason why it's spread so much like wildfire
Mhm.
is, well, one, because it has that kind of like triggering effect. Two, you got these naive victims who are still learning, who don't realize what they're doing, and I was
Right.
part of ours like that. So they're spreading this word around, and
Yeah.
it signals. I mean, especially those who actually know what the word sort of means, even if it's like a loosely kind of defined word, they know it's something that's bad,
Right.
and it's not something to really be proud of.
Right.
So from the actual narcissist point of view, they're like, right, well, this has hurt my feelings. I'm gonna now take ownership of using this word, and I'm gonna throw it out to everyone around me and call everyone else a narcissist to
Right.
deflect, and project.
Yeah.
So if I can accuse you of being a narcissist first,
Mhm.
maybe I can save my own backside.
Nope.
So it's been weaponized, and unfortunately, what the end result is that now everyone is suddenly a narcissist. And I mean, Richard Grannon talks about how it's so overly used now that it's
Yeah.
lost meaning, it's devalued.
If everyone's a narcissist, nobody's a narcissist.
Pretty much, but it
Yeah.
also removes the significance of what this word really means.
Right.
I mean, it's being used in a kind of derogatory, insultive way, which is inappropriate.
Right.
The way it should be used really is for what it is supposed to be for, which is, this is a terminology that is
Mhm.
that is indicating a person's way of dealing with their stresses and their life problems, etc., and it's causing an impact on their life.
Yeah. A developmental retardation is what it is. Yeah.
It's a mental disorder.
Yeah.
So it's not really an insult in a way. It's to use it as an insult is so simplistic, and I mean, you might as well just call someone a dickhead and be done with
Right.
it.
Right.
But to be called a narcissist with what it implies and entails is so much more damaging in a way, because this is because you extrapolate it and you're like, this is a person who really has who lives in a fantasy, who has problems with a sense of self. They've got all these negative anger, they've got fears and all this sort of stuff. They can never be happy. This is a huge problem.
Yeah.
And it takes it away from just being a simple insult. I mean, you can almost have a bit of, it depends how empathetic a person is, but if you were to call someone like hey, you over there, you're a narcissist, I mean, you can almost feel sorry for that person, because like, damn, I mean, I make the remark, it's like, I wouldn't want to wish narcissism on my worst enemy.
Right.
Because to live a life like that is horrific and terrifying.
I don't know. I think they're just lying. I think the more people are allowed to lie, the more mentally ill that they get. I know Sam Vaknin's been talking about this controversial P factor and how, and it might be, I mean, I've been talking about it for a while. Like, it's a crazy bitch umbrella. And there's so many of these traits that overlap. That's why they're all comorbid with all these other things. But the way I see it is just a severe lack of telling the truth in the whole thing. It's like the more people lie, And the more they get away with their lies, the more misbehaved they become, and the more irrational and, I guess, emotionally dysregulated. Because it's like these people, they start telling the truth, they start hearing the truth, and the shit kind of weirdly goes away. And the more discipline they have and the more that they're able to do on their own, the shit goes away.
People
I've seen
keep
it
talking
happen.
about, they keep talking about truth, and it
Yeah.
that becomes a red flag. Anyone who starts saying, "Oh, I'm a truth or a truther" or something like that is always like, "What the
I
hell are you
think
going
there's
on about my truth?"
I think they're signaling something, though. I mean, I think they're signaling that they want to hear the truth. You know, like where there's smoke, there's fire somewhere. I
It's
think by them saying, "Oh, well, this is my truth," you know, it's like, okay, what about public opinion of what's going on?
well, it's
You
funny.
know?
It's like the actual truth is it would seem as though it's something. It's the last thing they actually want. Anything but instead of like saying,
They
"I'm the truth" or "I want the truth," it's like anything but the truth, please. You know?
right. They don't want it, but they need it. It's
Well,
like a want versus need thing. It's like, yeah, they want to be a spoiled little brat and get their way, and
what
they
we're
don't
talking
want.
here,
Yeah.
you might find this bit interesting. When we talk about this truth idea,
Yeah.
what we're really discussing is dissociation, and
Right.
in the therapeutical sense, this is the failure of therapists, where they don't want to deep dive. What they want to do is make you they want you to be dissociated, so they want you to be cut off from how you actually feel. And when you're cut off from how you actually feel, you're numb to the pain. So when you go, typically when someone goes to the therapist, they're in agony, right? They're hurting, their life is a struggle, they're a mess. And that's actually quite a good thing. I'll have to explain why it's a good thing, because it means you're facing the problem. But the therapist doesn't want to do the exploration or the deep dive with this client. I mean, because it's a huge resource, it's time consuming, and there's a good chance the therapist has no idea, because the therapist also is dissociating. And we're finding it more and more that the clients are actually more healthy than the therapist is.
Oh yeah, they're psychotic.
Because the client is actually looking for answers, but
Right.
the therapist isn't really interested in the answers. The therapist wants to cut you off so that you become numb. They want you to bury your pain and make you numb to it, so that you can become more functionable and get on with your life. And they call that healing. Because when you're cut off and buried your emotions in such a way, your symptoms start to disappear, because this client no longer feels sad anymore or feels frustrated or angry. They're just numb.
Right.
So on paper, it looks like the therapy has worked, and they tick the box and say, right, you're doing better now. You got better control of yourself. You're no longer a blabbering mess. So job's done. But the client leaves and doesn't feel like anything has really been resolved, and it hasn't. What's happened is a band-aid has been put on top, and they've been denied how they truly feel. So and this is that kind of truth aspect, where when people start talking about I am the truth, what they're trying to do is cut people off from how they truly feel. And then they become more functionable, or they appear to be functionable. They appear to have better self-control, and they go, see, you've got the truth now. But it's like, no, you don't. And so the real truth is by pushing the dissociation aside and diving deep into that despair, that fear, that anguish, the emotions, not to bury it, to actually live in company with it. And many men, so this is what I'm looking at as the red pill and the black pill differences, where the red pill practices dissociation, but the black pill pushes that aside and is like, no, we're going to live with the horrors, the nihilism, for example. And although this person might be more emotionally in turmoil, they are living a more authentic and truer experience. You know, they might be dysregulated, but in a kind of backwards way of looking at it, they actually are technically more healthy.
That's interesting.
It's a little bit also like object constancy, where so the red pill likes, now no offense to the red pillars, but the red pill prefers this idea of like closing the lid on Pandora's box or closing the door to society. Like, we don't need to know. And I believe I'm secure in what I do know, kind of thing. But it's kind of like sticking your fingers in your ear, singing la la la, and closing your eyes because what's out there is too horrific. So that's sort of like how the red pill goes about their life, with a sense of an element of denial, despite appearing or preaching this sense of awareness. It's like they're only aware of in a kind of solipsism type of way.
Right.
They're only aware in the sense of what is within reach, and they think that's the entire compass or the landscape. That's all there is to know. But it's like, no, there's a lot more to know behind the doors, if only you were to open it and actually see it. But they're like, no, I don't want to see it. You know, like you don't really. They talk like this is in part why you got a lot of red pill rage, because that exploration isn't taking place, and they're just like, no, just squash those emotions, just quell that. You know, it's it is what it is, or whatever.
Well, and it's like the guys that try to educate me on female nature. I'm like, really, you're gonna try to argue with me about who knows more about women? Like, just because you read it in a book written by a dude that still doesn't know the whole truth. Like,
well, I mean, maybe they might have something like they're pointing out some sort of female bias that you don't see because you're inhabiting a female body.
Well, no, because it's always like, because there's no distinction between sane and crazy. Like, a lot of the stuff that they talk about is like a mentally unwell woman always does this, which I'll agree with that. But a lot of them don't even go as far as how fucked up mentally unwell women are and how dark the nature can be. Like it almost stops where they're, because that's something I noticed with men too. They give these crazy, like these really evil ones, they really give these crazy bitches so much more dignity and respect than they actually deserve. I think there's a like a point where they just refuse to believe that, like, a lot of these women want the men dead. Like, really, like, in how they'll fantasize about like raping them because they've heard all these bullshit feminist dogma things about how terrible men have been. It like perverts their minds and gives them fucking rape fantasies about raping men in return as like retaliation. I don't think a lot of the guys know how dark these crazy bitches' minds actually are.
Well, that's the problem with this dissociation type thing, because it would then therefore seem, I mean, this is going to sound a bit bleak or grim, but we already know that, you know, mental health is on decline and there's a lot of fuckery going around or whatever.
Yeah.
But if I'm saying that the appearance of control or doing well or being functionable outweighs the deep diving. It
Right.
shows you that our value system. It means that we're nowhere near a position of actually becoming healthy as a society. People
Right.
prefer this. That people would rather live in dissociation because they can get by in life better
Yeah.
than actually pushing that aside and understanding why it is they feel the way they do, or why it is their feelings matter to them in such a way, and how it affects the rest of them. And it's understandable. I mean, it's a lot easier. It's also like the easy versus hard, and people will naturally go for what's easy. So it's a lot easier just to have denial, to compartmentalize, to block off difficult things that are hard to navigate, and put yourself in a position where, okay, I can at least now get by in life,
Mm-hmm.
rather than be a emotional wreck.
Right.
Because those deep dives into the abyss is a dangerous journey. You know, it's hard work, it's scary, it's frightening, and
Yeah.
without anyone to guide you, or even like a light, how do you navigate in the darkness? So, and again,
Yeah.
that's why only a fraction of a percentage actually are one, like, courageous or brave enough to do that deep dive, but are successful in a way where, I mean, I use that term loosely because that's not really the, I feel like that's not really the objective. It's being able to live with that sort of trauma and manage it.
Right.
It's not really about trying to fix it or cure it.
Right.
But you know, so you can see how there's also a contrast with like an element of dishonesty and honesty. You were talking about truth earlier. So acknowledgement that there is more beneath the surface.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't the society that's interested in it. They
Right.
talk a good game. They talk about, like,
Right.
we'll be, saying no to toxicity, and we should all be lovey-dovey and all this, but
Right.
that is the language of the dissociated, the ones who want to pretend they found the so-called truth.
Right. Yeah. Well, I am happy to be closing this.
Oh, that might be the delivery.
Oh, is that your delivery? Good deal. I'm happy to be closing this chapter here. Yeah. Let's see. No politics. Where did she say earlier? Why she appropriated and bastardized the MGTOW moniker. See, this is the question I asked her when I first fucking came across her. Let's see. She wanted to start an all-women's group. Okay, let me play this. That was her goal, so she says. I like to watch others make mistakes. Okay. So originally it was celibate women going their own way, inspired by the MGTOW acronym. That's what you want to call it. I wanted to form a group like MGTOW, but for just women. Didn't work out. Couldn't find the right female, so I then just changed it to going my own way. Well, that was kind of strange.
Right.
That's what I asked her when I first came across her. Why she appropriated the MGTOW acronym.
So who, what, where, why, when?
Oh, Scorpthot was talking about her moniker here. Celibate Scorpion going her own way.
I mean,
She said she originally wanted to form a group like MGTOW, but just for women. Like, women don't have enough groups. She couldn't find the right females for it, though.
I mean, I'm prepared to like pretty much shut the door with a lot of those sort of people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Some of the guys might be wondering why it was I even bothered doing a 4-hour live stream.
You're right.
Yeah, I guess because it's like you're feeding, you're giving them attention.
Yeah.
And I understand that, and I try and preach that myself.
Well, that's why you did it on this channel and not yours. Like, and you made that clear in the beginning. Like,
well, I thought I did.
Well, okay.
But, and a lot of people seem to think you were, just for clarification, I mean, Good Mother wasn't on the panel. She wasn't backstage.
Nope.
I had full control. For all intents and purposes, it was my stream, but I just used Good Mother's platform and channel. So she wasn't part of the stream. We weren't working together on it at all.
Yeah, I was in the chat.
But the reason why I did it wasn't to give attention to the miraculous parenting. It was because I owe it to that boy.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it makes me feel disheartened, because if I am to retract, or if I didn't bother to say what I felt was needed to be said, or do that stream, that 4-hour stream, I don't think that the boy will ever see it, but it was, at least, I know Alice is going to dispute it, but
Yeah.
at least someone gave a damn about him
Yeah.
and was willing to do a 4-hour stream trying to defend him.
Yeah.
And when we talk about, I mean, this is why it's a bit disheartening in terms of men, the manosphere, for example, who don't really understand. I mean, they talk about how our children are being abused and what's going to happen with the sons of the future.
Right.
Well, that's what I was trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Because, like, what's going to happen? So to turn I feel like to turn my back or to say nothing about it is not helping the boy out, and it's not really what I feel like the manosphere. I don't know. It just feels like I know it's not true.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've let him down, and I've let men down in general. But at least I said what I did before. I made a 4-hour stream, so yes, it might have been a bit of a long-winded and maybe boring as well, or whatever. But
Well, for people who aren't particularly interested in the lane we were currently working in.
I mean,
Yeah.
had that been if I were that boy, I would have liked to have thought I'd appreciated it. Some random dude across the pond wanted to vouch for me, or wanted to try and
Criticize your mother's son husband techniques.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the guys complain about it all the time. Son husband, all kinds of all the bubbles in the manosphere. I mean, there's a couple terms that they use for it, and they complain about it, but then you point your finger at an exact 41-second clip of it happening in real life, and then the crazy bitch rees like, oh, don't shine the light on that didn't happen. Like, no, it happened.
Yeah, I mean,
And I'm sure it wasn't the fucking first time. I mean, that crazy bitch has a habit of, you know, trying to use many people as a shield after she starts
Yeah.
some shit. Like,
yeah, I wasn't doing that stream for her benefit.
right.
You know, like, I know it's a waste of time trying to talk to her.
Oh yeah, she's fucked.
That's why I was like, regardless of whether or not she came on the panel, it made no difference.
Right.
Her input was not required.
Right.
Her response was not required.
Well, this response was required for what I'm doing.
You know, so
Yeah.
as far as the beef with her, like, it's pretty much there shouldn't really be any need for it for me or her to take it any further, because like, she's a waste of my time, and she would probably say the same thing about me or whatever. And so where does that leave us? Well, it leaves us with at least that boy has a 4-hour stream dedicated to give a different perspective on his situation.
Right.
And that's the best I can really. There's not much more I can do or offer him or do for other men. But I just hope the guys listening can understand the motivation behind what I did.
Yeah. Well, and I think it'll be useful. I mean, if not for that particular one, for other ones, for sure. Actually, one of my clients this past, man, I've talked to so many damn people about, I have so many things that I need to get out, but one of my clients was telling me, because she's a retired school teacher. She retired after 25 years, like, I don't know, 5 years ago, maybe? So, I mean, she's seen the school system through a lot of different things. Apparently, in my community, there used to be something that was different than CPS. It was government funded. It was an organization that parents could go to for parenting training. Like, if a student saw, or the teacher was like, oh, you know, the student's acting up, and then there were some problems within the family, the parents could go for some fucking training to help that child through the parents. So when she gets back,
yeah,
huh?
We have many schemes like that. Yeah.
Well, but that, she said it actually worked out well. Because, you know, instead of removing the child, it was holding the fucking parents accountable for parenting properly.
Yeah, this is in part how I got on that path of getting those qualifications.
Right.
Now, I'm a advocate for it. I believe they are good, and I think all parents should really be on them sort of courses.
Yeah.
But having been on courses like that, you quickly see which ones it can benefit, and which ones are. I mean, the majority, you can see that their selfishness gets in the way. So when they hear some of these tips and strategies and advices and things like that, they internalize it as shame instead. And they no longer make it about being a good parent or trying to improve their situation. They just start becoming withdrawn and feeling the frustration and the shame and guilt. And they can pseudo, pretend to have a bit of humility and and maybe a bit of honesty. It's like with narcissists as well. s- you do have moments where, for a brief, like like a flash in the pan epiphany, that they can actually finally see. It's like, oh shit, I actually hurt your feelings. I'm genuinely sorry about that. And if you're mistaken, you'll believe that and be like, oh, there is hope for this narcissist. They're doing some self-reflection for the first time. And
Right.
it's like, yeah, but as soon as they have this thought, it's gone in the blink of an eye. Because the narcissist and the things that are in the backseat that are driving their behavior reassert themselves.
Mm.
So just as soon as like these parents in these courses have a bit of shame and humility, and they might
Mhm.
actually be like, oh right, shit, I didn't realize I was actually doing a disservice to my child. As soon as they
Right.
leave the session, they're back to the way they were. And I was seeing that, like I'd be in a session with these parents from my kids' school, like I know them, and then on the way home, I'd see them like yelling at their kids or clipping their kids around the ear. It's like, hang on, weren't you sitting in class with me just an hour ago?
Right.
So none of it mattered then. So you can see how it's sort of
So
like,
the habits, you got to break them.
yeah, but it kind of shows that this is in part why, if you were to try and so-called cure or fix someone like who's a narcissist or maybe borderline, the resources and commitment it would take, the burden on the rest of society to keep them in check is just too great. So the only way you keep those parents in that state of mind is if you kept them in that kind of environment and that situation with that sort of pressure of like, no, you're not gonna be able to revert back to primal instincts anymore.
See, earlier Jeff was saying that new habits, you can form new habits in like 60 days. And that sounds about right.
Yes, you can form new habits, but these are personality ingrained behaviors.
Right. But they're still habits. They're subconscious habits that people have adopted over time. And, that's the whole part of like making the unconscious conscious. Like you pull it up and you look at it and then you're like, okay, I'm going to do something else. So you do this other thing and you keep doing that other thing and then it just becomes a habit.
I would maybe interject with like habits in 60 days for someone who would otherwise, is like a normal functioning type of person.
Normal people don't need help though.
Yeah, but we normal people will still have habits. But with the personality disorder type of individual, then the habits, I don't think it's as easy as they would switch and be like, aha, this is the new way going forward in life. I see now, and things are so much better. The subconscious, particularly if they're a narcissist, would rear its ugly head at some point.
Well, that's where society's failing. Society, though, you said you use the term burden on society. Yeah, society should have a fucking burden because they've been lazy and cowardly when it comes to just fucking telling other people the truth.
Yeah.
I think that's why why we're in this big fucking situation to begin with, because nobody wants to tell people the truth anymore.
No. And it's so muddled up now, whereas like people don't know what the truth is, and they're seemingly more and more uninterested in the actual truth. They'd rather have this production show, performance, appearance than and actually make improvements. Seeing how we're talking about schooling and parenting currently in this country, my country, we've got anti-bullying week apparently. So say no to the bullies, right?
Right.
And yesterday was the start of it. For some reason, they decided to celebrate it with odd socks. I don't know why. Maybe it's just a little gimmick, but it was infuriating because at the schools, like, virtually like demanding, make sure your kid brings like £1 to school to donate for anti-bullying week. So I
Right.
got my kid bullying me. Dad, can I have £1 to take to school? And I said, no, you're not. I'm not going to allow the school to bully you, to bully me, to give them £1.
Yeah.
For what? For anti-bullying week? Like, for
Right.
what? Like promotional posters? What? You're like, so
Yeah.
so the capitalistic mindset I've sort of pops in my head. I'm thinking, who's making money here? You know, like there's some sort of racketeering going on. Someone's profiting with this donation thing. And I said to my kid, when you go to school and they ask about the money thing, you tell them being kind doesn't cost anything.
Did she get a chance to do it?
I don't know. I think it's a bit of a hard phrase for her to sort of memorize.
Right.
I gave her a couple of other ones. I told her, you say to your teacher, because I know what the kind of, I suspect the sort of things they want to try and teach the children are like the obvious. Like, it's mean to say bad things to people. Like, we don't hit people. That's bullying. And I was like, yeah, we'll throw this one at your teacher as well. Ask them if they know what emotional blackmail is.
See, they want to focus on the masculine physical kinds of abuse and ignore the female
Right.
emotional and mental abuse tactics, which they're currently employing to get their message across.
That's the thing. Like,
yeah.
Like, obviously, you got peer-to-peer sort of type of style bullying, like playground bullying or whatever, and that age, it's contained in their age group, but they're totally ignoring like the parents bullying their kids, or possibly the teachers bullying their kids, or bullying or abuse in other kind of shapes and form, like trying to bully me to give money, like financial bullying.
Right.
And so my school is sort of trying to promote this week or whatever, and it's becoming more and more like obvious to me that this is virtue signaling. They're not really caring anything about bullying, really.
Right.
This is just about us looking good.
Right.
And apparently there's some sort of poll taking place where they're comparing themselves with other schools.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm not sure how they're quantifying. I don't know what the merit is, like who is the most peace and loving or something, but whatever. But the organizers of this poll is called Anti-Bullying Alliance. And I was like, alliance? That sounds like mob behavior to me.
Right.
So your idea of bullying, I mean, last year when they did this, they wanted everyone to, I think, wear a red item of clothing, and they were going to have placards like, we're going to show the bullies the red card in our protesting line. And I'm thinking, who's the bully here?
Right.
So these kids are being trained into this sort of I'm better than you mindset.
Right.
Me and my friends, we don't support bullying, so we're going to gang up on the bullies and show them what for, because we're better than them. Right. And I'm thinking this is the wrong way about all of this. You don't need to be teaching this sort of stuff. Like, this is like morals and ethics and kindness is something that should be like sprinkled in a kid's life, just like throughout in general. It doesn't need to have like an emphasis on it in such a way. And
Well, I mean, fundamentally, that shit should be coming from the parents.
right,
And they should have started. They should be well behaved by the time they even get to school. I mean, yeah, they'll get disciplined for misbehaving, but they don't even do that anymore.
I mean, I'm also of the belief that bullying is actually a normal part. Like I was listening to that stream you're having with Jeff. I've forgotten the second name. Jeff Taylor, was it?
Younger.
Jeff Younger. And he was talking about a bit of like rough and tumble with the boys, and it helps build character and things like this. And in a way, like bullying is part of that. It's not something we should shy away from. It's a normal, at least this is my opinion. I'm not stating it as a fact, but it can be it depends. It would have to be like a case by case situation. You have to find that sort of balance. But to have playground style bullying amongst the kids' peers can help shape a person's resolve in a way.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it can be a bit too much, and it could traumatize a kid, and they got like a sort of complex afterwards. But maybe it's a bit more effective amongst boys. Like I'm trying to think back to when I was in school, and just like how the guys like to horse around in the chat box, I'd be like, me and the guys would be taking the piss out of each other when we were in our kid years. And some of these, maybe we took some things too far or whatever, but we were still friends at the end of the day, despite us having little digs at each other. I mean, in some ways, it actually made us bond even better.
Right.
There's an argument, I've mentioned it before, where when you're insulted with your peers, it actually shows a sign of caring in a way, because it shows you that, like, let's say me and you were like, let's say I called you a dickhead or something like that.
Yeah.
I know you're not going to get like, you're not going to be crying your eyes. Oh, Billy,
No.
my life is ruined.
Right.
So being able to gauge how far to take it,
Right.
and be responsible with what is being said, shows a sign of respect.
Right.
It shows that I recognize there is a boundary, that I could call you maybe something worse than a dickhead that you might actually will get offended by, but I don't call you that. Instead, I call you a silly little blonde head, whatever. So it's being able to, like, I actually see you, and I can see where to draw the line, and I can step up to it, and there's an element of trust, and so you can see how it's a much more, it's not taken to heart too much. For all intents and purposes, we might call it banter or something. But it builds a sense of camaraderie.
Right.
So on a battlefield, you'll be able to trust someone a lot more if you can
joke with them.
You can joke with them and have digs with them, because you can trust, engage, and you can allow them to be responsible for how they feel, and etc. And a much more cohesive relationship than someone who in contrast, basically, like you wouldn't have a good team forming.
Right. If you have to walk on eggshells about what you say around the people, that can't be good at all.
Just trying to remember, was there another point I wanted to make about this bullying week? I think there might have been, but if there was, it's just a small point. No, I can't really think of it. But
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of done. I'm done with this petting zoo chapter. I did like how Celibate Scorpion came out. In a defiant way after Latin Patriot asked her to please stop commenting. She had to come back under her real name to and then she just kept commenting and pretty much took over the whole chat by the end of it. That was lovely to see.
If people can see things objectively, then my stance was sort of like it wasn't necessary to stick a label on Alice and be like, look, universe, here is a potential child abuse. It's more of a case of, I mean, that's the sad part. It's like she'd rather focus on that than actually taking the message, which is, your son's well-being is at stake. So
oh yeah, no. When I first told her, Billy, when I first told her that that's fucking inappropriate, you don't bring your kids online and do that shit just because you are having an insecurity about a comment some random stranger made. You do not bring them online to defend your fucking honor as a 7-year-old. And I was speaking as a mother who's already raised a son and didn't raise a son husband. So I already learned this shit before she even probably had kids.
Yeah, well, I mean, in terms of having a kid online, like there are, I yes and no agree. I mean, it depends on what kind of platform you're having. If it's like a man space or an adult kind of arena, then no, I don't think it's very appropriate. But if you're a kids channel or something like that, or you're a developmental child rearing or whatever, then maybe that's fair enough. But this is that part of. Yeah, sorry.
Will you monologue for a minute? I gotta go pee.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, the nitty picky parts of what went down, we don't. It distracts from the point, which is like really we should all be on the same side in the sense that we want what's best for kids. So any input, any information, any advice, whether it hurts our feelings or not, it would be good if it could be taken on board. But the moment we become selfish and look at it as a attack on ourselves, then we forget about the children's needs and development and well-being. And I think that's what ended up happening. So in the basic of forms, like I hope basically, like I hope Alice and whoever can see that, like everything else, the circumstances, the motivations, the criticisms, the accusations, the claims, the opinions, the feelings, all of that is it really isn't really the focus. It's the kid. And I hope if Alice is watching, she could agree with me on that. So I mean, I'm sure she thinks what she was doing is in his best interest and for his well-being. I don't know. I don't want to keep on banging on the drum or dragging it out. So I'm not sure there's not really much else to say on that matter. GM's back. I couldn't monologue for very long. Just trying to think of a tangent to go on.
All right. Well, I have everything that I need from the petting zoo. I've actually been talking to a lot of people here locally about what I could be doing, I guess. I'm gonna start writing some stuff. Actually, I have a client that she wants to, I mean, and I've heard it from quite a few of my professor clients. They're like, you should write a paper on that. Like you should, yeah.
As a audience member to your channel, I must say, like, I am enjoying the recent interviews you are having with people such as Red Ranger and Jeff Younger, and what's his name? Is it RJ? So that's refreshing, and I'm enjoying hearing new perspectives from men. So
men that are like working on stuff in different sectors.
Not just working on stuff, but just that from just hearing other walks of life.
Yeah.
And just hearing and meeting new people, you know.
Yeah, I have one more interview planned, and you know, I think I'm gonna do this one private and then just air it, because trying to keep up with the chat and have it be live is kind of difficult, and I think it's a little distracting too, and I want to kind of get a history of somebody that's been in, I guess, the PUA realm, and find out how things have changed. I mean, because I know today it's not the same as what it started to be, and I mean, I know why it happened to begin with. Men were trying to adapt to an ever-changing society that was getting worse for men. So trying to, you know, live out their biological imperatives. That's how the whole game stuff even happened to begin with. And I know I've heard it from a lot of people that used to be in that space, that a lot of guys just, you know, tried to use it to find a mate. Like, not that they wanted to, you know, pump and dump a whole bunch of women, which I think the porn and sex addicted type of folks, you know, going back to what we were talking about, the quantity over quality type of thing, I think it just kind of mutated over time. So I want to get a perspective of somebody that's, I mean, he's been online doing it for, I think, like 20 years. So.
Right.
And he was saying some stuff at the convention, how they were wrong about a lot of stuff. And he was actually being honest about that and confessing some stuff. So I think it'll be good to get his perspective.
Yeah, sounds intriguing, and I think it'd be a good. You know, this is when we talk about like having a better awareness and, you know, insight and things like that. It's worth the exploration, even if it's areas of not particular interest. You know, so I don't really have much info or opinions when it comes to PUAs. That's sort of like a whole different realm to me.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised, like, if I apply like my understanding to some of the things that have been said, I might have epiphanies and be like, hey, I recognize that pattern that you're describing. Hey, it reminds me of, you know, so then I can make like correlations or whatever. So
yeah,
I am because you started off with saying like things are sort of changing, and I'm seeing a gradual shift. I think a lot of people are seeing a shift.
Things getting better.
Sort of.
Yeah.
I see a split. Again, better for some, but for the ones it's not benefiting, it's getting worse for them. So they're going to slip further into like delusion and psychosis, like maybe, possibly, or try and spin some webs and pull people into their fantasy world, which I think is one of the changes that we're seeing. I think in the last maybe 5 years. So yeah, I'm looking to do a stream on this, because it's this new idea that literally just popped in my head earlier this morning or late last night. That I think what we've been experiencing over the last 5 years is the covert narcissist getting a bit cocky.
Right.
Now, we talk about covert narcissist, we talk about grandiose as if there are different breeds. But in truth, they actually switch places from time to time. So the grandiose, for example, someone who's very, very arrogant, very bombastic or whatever, if you had them cornered, they will go covert. They'll go below the radar, to avoid detection. And then they'll re-emerge later on and be grandiose again. And the same with the covert. Like when the covert is getting their way, they start becoming more and more grandiose. And then when it starts to backfire, they go hide underneath their rock again and go back to form or whatever. I mean, so there is a sort of baseline, but they have times in the periods of their life where they switch around a little bit. So I think that's what's happened over the last 5 years, is that the coverts have become cocky, arrogant, more brave. They become more grandiose. And as more and more start to perk up, it encourages the other coverts to come out of their shell and test their luck. So we had this sort of influx of covert narcissists thinking they were more higher than they are, and beginning to backfire and crumble and not really work out. So they're now in a position where they're withdrawing and trying to pretend. It's kind of funny because you got the MGTOW monks, and these covert narcissists are trying to emulate the monks. So they'll say things like, well, I'm gonna go to play. I'm gonna get off social media. This place is too toxic for me. My peace is sacred, and I'm gonna go stay with people who are valuable, who show me love, or something like that. Or
that sounds like
it sounds like a lot of them. I'm hearing these sort of sentiments being uttered. Is this rippling effect?
Yeah.
Where they're retreating.
Yeah.
And it, as depends if I want to explain it in more depth here right now, or save it for a later stream. But there are other kind of elements why it's strategically it's a good move to be doing right now. Now is a good time from their point of view to be they've tried their luck, it's not working. They run the risk of exposure. They run to ridicule. They don't have the stamina. They don't have the energy. So they need to, and they're in pursuit of fuel and everything like that. So they have to. It's a logical sense. It makes a logical sense for them to withdraw and concentrate on the reserves that they already have or have established. And it's also laziness on their part, because when they withdraw in such a way, and they say something like, look, if you want me, you know where to find me, you know, or those of you, the few of my, like, I don't know how big their subscriber count is, but they might say something like, well, those of you who actually get what, who actually really do get me, or who are like friends, real true friends, then you'll come with me, you know. So I'm only speaking to those people in my fan base.
Right.
Only those of you who are like me, you and I are the same. So everyone else can kind of fuck off, basically.
Right.
And that's luring. That means
Right.
I'm gonna go play hide and seek. You come to me,
Right.
and when you come to me, instantly I already know that you're a sucker, because what the hell are you doing in my domain? You know, so
Right.
you're a loyal fool at that point.
Right. Right.
So it makes it's easy work from the narcissist point of view of like of identifying who is the most easiest prey I can exploit and extract from. Well,
Mm-hmm.
they've come. It's like home delivery
Mm-hmm.
instead of going out to get takeout.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So I
I
see
get
this shift happening.
Yeah, I got a clip of that narc poacher from earlier today. I mean, she's a feminist. They always, her and her little survivor friends, talk about misogyny and blah 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 blah. But something she said I thought was super interesting. Um, what was she saying? See, this is this is where I question whether these people are narcs or not. That they are like that they're talking about. Because when they describe it, they don't actually describe the abuse. They just say they've been abused.
Yeah.
And it's like if you take and say no to a spoiled little brat, I'm sure that they're going to see that as fucking abuse. But something she said was really interesting. She mentioned humiliating. Let me see if I can pull that up.
Shout out to Frank.
Yeah, shout out Frank. I saved it. But listen to this, Billy. See, this, I think this is good news for men, because this is from the other side.
Through all the trauma, that it's even hard to meet acquaintances just to get together now and then, you know, for like dinner or lunch or whatever, you know, not even dating, just not even best friends. I'm just talking about like acquaintances, you know, just normal, just people to just go do activities with. Like, even that's hard, you guys. Because we all know if they end up being a narc, then they're going to try to get a lot closer than that. And for me, my thing is like, I think for now, like when I'm out trying to meet new friends now, like girlfriends, like I'm not dating, but I'm trying to meet friends. And I mostly, you know, make friends with women. So my thing is I'm keeping them at an arm's length right now and just see how it goes, like as acquaintances kind of. And then just give it some time, because I don't want to jump into anything, not even a friendship anymore, because it's just it's crazy. Oh, it's 11:46 a.m. there. Oh, Ashley, yeah, myself, like, yeah, I can't even, man, like even in the last 6 months, you guys, like I've had the worst experiences, even going on like one date. So like, yeah, I pretty much refused to even date, you guys, because it's been bad. It's been really bad for me. Like I've barely dated in the last 6 months, and I maybe went on like one or two dates, and they were like the few ones I did go on, it was a narc, so it just ruined it for me. I'm like, fuck this, you know. And it was like, you guys, really bad abuse that happened even on like one or two dates. So I'm just like, fuck it, like I'm done. Like if I never go on a date again for the rest of my life, like I'm good. Like the next guy that literally gets me to go out with him in public and give him the time of day, like he's gonna literally have to like
Here's where
He's
the
gonna literally
high
have to like show
expectations
up,
come.
you know,
yeah,
like dressed to the nines. He's gonna have to
you
be
could-
wearing fucking an Armani suit. He's gonna have to be blaring or showing up with, you know, roses. I mean, I'm just kidding. Like, I don't want to be love bombed, but I'm just saying, like, he's gonna have to really go out of his way to show me that like, he values me and he really wants to take me out and he's genuine. Otherwise, hell no, I'm not even gonna step outside. I'm not even gonna meet anyone. Like, I'm done. Like,
one of the distinctions that will be easy to ascertain what is going on, because everyone is talking about like, look, I'm just going to live the monk life, or I'm going to go solo. I've had enough. Dating is over. Relationships and marriage is all kaputsies. I was like, all right, fine and dandy. Now the difference would be some of the people will actually be fine with that. They can live a life of solitude or contentment.
Oh,
They
she
might-
can't.
They might be lonely or whatever. You know, it's not
Yeah.
exactly the ideal or whatever, but given the circumstances, they'd be like, no, this is how it's going to be, and I'm going to live the rest of my days, whatever. And then, yeah, in contrast, you'll be those who say that, but it drives them nuts,
Mhm.
you know. So that would be the easy decider fact. I mean, it takes time. You'll have to wait until they live their life really to find out which is which. But the subject of this
Abuse.
well, there's so much trauma
Abused on the first date.
thing. Like a lot of victims and a lot of just people are becoming more and more untrusting of those they encounter. They're not even going to really give people a chance. And
No, I think this is a crazy bitch that gets her feelings hurt when somebody
she-
like reacts normally to her crazy
yeah,
bitch.
like the way
She wants
she's
to call him a
portraying it.
narc.
Well, yeah, it's like what we were saying earlier about it's the go-to insult. I must automatically be dealing with a narcissist kind of thing.
Right.
I mean, the way she's
It's not my problem, it's theirs. Because they won't tolerate me.
I mean, well, yeah, and she's also saying like, look, they have to. What's a good way of like a phrase in it? I'm not going to accept anyone who it has to. She's wants like a Mr. Perfect.
Right.
They must be like me, for me to accept them. Well, then you're forever gonna run into people who are gonna upset you, and if you're gonna automatically be like, oh, well, that must mean that I was dealing with a narcissist, because it starts reflecting back on you, because it shows even if you're not a narcissist, there's something unhealthy about you if all you're attracting are these so-called narcissists.
Right. Right.
And if you're going around labeling everyone as a narcissist, you're basically running into a lot of issues and problems with your senses, your perceptions, your biases, and this could be compounded with anxiety, your fears, hesitation,
Right.
the unwillingness to be vulnerable, which is a hallmark of narcissism in itself. But
Right.
so you're unwilling to be vulnerable. That means you don't trust. You won't even bargain or negotiate. It's just an absolute like, no, this person likes the color green, and I my favorite color is blue or whatever. So no, they're a narcissist.
Right.
So there is no relationship being formed here. There's no getting to know someone or having a tolerance or acceptance,
Right.
for what you're
Did
dealing
you did you hear what she said though? Like, oh, I knew they were a narcissist, or something about narcissists wanting to know more, or something like I'm
A
gonna
lot
keep
of-
these people at her arm's length. Like,
Yeah. I mean, she said this has been going on for like 6 months. I mean, victims in the beginning have this it's not unusual for them, because to have the realization that you've been dealing with a narcissist. I'm talking about victims who have stumbled upon the subject matter of narcissism. They're still in a traumatic state, so they're very impulsive. They're erratic. Their emotions are still high. They don't know who. They're all discombobulated and disorientated. So it's expected to see victims, especially in the early stages, like one, immediately calling themselves an empath, two, being aggressive, three, calling everyone else a narcissist, four, like being abusive and untrusting of others, keeping people at arm's length, as she was describing. And it's not until later on. So this is where you start seeing the different kind of caliber of victims. You see, or the maturity, whether or not these victims recognize, like, whoa, okay, I see what's going on now. As much as we focus on the narcissist, really, this is more about my involvement than who I was dealing with. Whereas some other victims aren't like that at all, and want to go witch hunting the narcissist, or persecute. They call themselves like a narc destroyer or something like that, or a narc
poacher. This one is called.
Poacher, right? Or a nemesis or something, or like I'm the whatever. And it's like, that isn't healthy.
Right.
You might think that this makes you noble or virtuous in some sort of way, but this isn't really a good thing. Now, that's just my opinion. Take it as you will, or whatever. You say that to them, and I'm sure they'll be like, no. They'll probably instantly call me a narcissist, probably, for saying that. But I mean, I've heard this woman before, and if I recall correctly, she was talking about how a lot of people die in her presence.
Right.
No.
She's an anointed one. Remember this crazy bitch?
Right, anointed.
Oh yeah. I left her a comment or tagged her in something, and she did the typical crazy bitch thing. It's like the chapter long memoir in my comment section.
Shout out to Dan King.
Who's Dan King?
He's a how would you describe Dan King? He's a heavy hitter in his own way. He's a good guy.
Yeah. Well, I switched it to subscriber mode because there's a few trolls that were coming in, so I think it worked. And I shut the other two chats down, so kind of funnel everybody into one space. So does Dan King have a channel? I'm sorry to get off track.
Yeah. He likes to talk about MAGA Man.
Oh.
the fascinating world of MAGA Man.
Okay. Is that the guy that we found over in the Gulag?
I'm not sure what realms he's in. But yeah, you would need to watch some of his content. I mean, he's very observant. He's very he's got a very charismatic, humorous delivery.
Yeah.
He's on the ball. He's witty. He's insightful. He's a great guy. He doesn't necessarily identify himself as MGTOW or even Red Pill, if I'm correct. Dan, if you're still there watching and listening, he's actually, don't like, no disrespect, but like Mr. Average guy from the street kind of thing, who got dragged into the manosphere, and is people are telling him that, oh, these men are toxic men or whatever.
Right.
And after getting to know a bunch of us, he's like, these guys are all right.
Yeah.
So you can actually socialize with MGTOWs, and there doesn't have to be a big kerfuffle over it.
Yeah, good.
Which is
so he's not a group identitarian. Is that what you're saying?
Well, he might be an identitarian in other ways, in other groups, but at least in terms of MGTOW and the Red Pill, it's nice to see like normal societal type people be able to have interactions and have a distinction. Like he doesn't need to be like, just because he talks to MGTOW doesn't mean he that therefore is a MGTOW as well.
Right.
You know. So
You know what I've run into? Groups that want to adopt me. That's what I think. That's what I think. That Gulag gang initially thought that they could adopt me into their group, and then when I disagreed with a bunch of their PUA bullshit, they were like,
that's the refreshing thing about Dan King, and it's very wholesome or healthy to see take place, where you can have people from different like tribes or walks of life get together and not necessarily consume assimilate someone else into their collective.
Right.
Just because you're talking to a certain group doesn't mean you're part of that group.
Right.
So to have that kind of boundary, I think, is fantastic to see.
Yeah.
And
I wonder, like,
have you seen the movie The Thing?
No.
Oh, you need to watch that.
Wait, is that the hand one? Oh wait, that's Thing on Addams Family, right?
Oh yeah, well yeah, that's The Thing from Addams Family. No, the Thing is a horror. It's a fantastic movie. Especially the Kurt Russell version. I think it's like the third remake or whatever. It's been remade quite a few times, but the Kurt Russell is the sort of the main one. When people talk about The Thing, that's the one they kind of reference. It's a fantastic horror genre. Good suspense, paranoia. Good special effect, fantastic special effects. It holds up to the test of time. It's one of my favorite sort of films, but I don't often, but every now and again I'll describe narcissism as a bit like The Thing. It has no, it's an alien sort of creature that inhabits bodies and takes like in person, it hides within, and at some point will kind of like unleash and kill people. But as a result, it has no original form in a way. So you don't really know what this alien creature actually looks like, because whenever you see it, it's taken parts from other places.
Right.
And very much like what a narcissist does. But that's just me putting the narcissistic lens on that movie. It wasn't really set with narcissism in mind.
Right.
I mean, a movie that does heavily reflect narcissism and makes me wonder, was there prior knowledge, is the movie Coraline. I think that's another fantastic narcissist movie. I want to do a breakdown of that, but it's a very complex storyline. But it's rife with narcissism throughout.
Yeah, I would like to get back to a place in our society where these things that have been made so damn complicated because a lot of people are lying, like get reverted back to not being as complicated, where we can be like, okay, that's bullshit, that's okay, that's inappropriate, don't do that anymore. And society agrees that we don't do that anymore. So whenever we see people doing that, any member of society that's not currently doing that will be like, hey, don't do that. Like, we've lost that in our society.
Well, that is something we can achieve to an extent.
Yeah.
That depends on us. It depends how self-controlled we are to not allow tangents to or topics to be diverted elsewhere. Like, you stay on task, you stay strict on the bottom line or the baseline.
Yeah.
Like, this is the point of contention, and to such an extent where it's like it's not even for debate at this point, like this is like groundbreaking statement, and that's it.
Right.
So
yeah,
you keep it like keep it simple, stupid sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because the veering off the path, the straight and narrow, is what is like. This is what the my truth, in a way, is trying to do. Is trying to circumvent or cut corners in life, and there's only really one way, like the authentic way.
Yeah.
Everything else, and this is why things won't. This is why fantasy can never really stand up against reality. It's just not compatible. And so, despite what anyone may say, even if it's like conspiracy theory type wise, like either flat Earth or something like that, or NASA phony or whatever,
The flat earthers, or the ones that think they're fucking aliens from another planet.
right, or lizard people or something.
Yeah.
It's like, fine, that's all well, good and dandy or whatever. If that's what you want to believe, that's what you want to believe. There's no point me trying to argue otherwise.
Right.
So, all right, let's just roll with that then. If that's what, we'll see. We'll see if there's a lizard people. We'll see if the frogs are actually gay or not. Or whatever kind of.
But then there's a lot of code for stuff too that people. That's what I've learned about being online and overlapping a lot of people's stories and their language and.
Well, it's funny you say overlap. That's what I was going to say. It's like what tends to happen is that a lie ends up having to be embellished. So a lie on top of a lie on top of a lie until it's hard for the person to even keep track of their own lies anymore. Right,
but that's how men have had to operate in our society when women are too busy telling them that they can't speak the truth. They've had to lie in order to survive.
Yeah, and as a result, they're doing all these sort of backflips and like contortion to try and wrap literally wrap your head. Like life doesn't need you wrapping your head around anything.
Right.
The
mental gymnastics.
Right. So you have to kind of be able to have those boundaries and filters to be able to be like, no, stay on target, stay on the path, stay on the straight and narrow, keep focus, and don't let all the hocus pocus try and distract you or confuse you, because they're gonna try their goddamn hardest to do that.
Well, and because people are getting canceled for just being direct. That's something I picked up on Timcast. He had Milo Yiannopoulos on there.
Yeah.
And he sounded like he was fucking over he was being as direct as humanly possible, maybe a little on the sweet side, giving feminists and women way too much, dignity and respect that they actually deserve. But he made a comment. He's like, I understand what you guys are doing to where you say less, but you can reach more people. And that pretty much sums it up. It's like, you can speak less truth. I mean, you have to say all this stuff to say this little thing, but there's so much of it missing that leaves so much of it for interpretation that it confuses a lot of people, I think. It's exhausting listening. Like I think I'm becoming allergic to listening through things to try to get the message. I'm like, if you guys fucking won't say it by now, like I can't do anything for you.
Yeah, the being exhausted is quite a good thing. I mean, that's why sometimes when you present your case studies or something or whatever, I find it hard to follow because I'm like, I'm already tired.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the cancel culture, I mean, that is a bit of a problem. However, I mean, they want to try and cancel the MGTOWs, silence them.
Yep.
But there's a problem with that because you can, let's say you eradicated all the MGTOWs, it will rear its head at some point again in the future.
Mm-hmm.
There will be we sort of think of like the new generation as a lost cause, or like, you know,
Right.
they're completely fucked or whatever.
Yeah.
But amongst them, there will be, I don't know what the percentage is, but there will be some that'll be like, hang on, something isn't right here.
Mm-hmm.
That is all that is needed. That curiosity, that inquisitive, that a willingness to explore type of mind is all that is needed to encourage the start of critical thinking.
Right.
You know, so as much as we might think it's a bit of a lost cause with the newer generations, there must be
Yeah.
an element of hope there. Now, how successful will they, you know, get their voice heard, etc., is a different sort of question. But the point being is that there is someone who, they're not all sheep or unable to adapt. I mean, they might have, I suppose, like unique challenges that they will have to overcome.
Yeah.
But in terms of survival, it will be a case of like, well, you're gonna have to find a way, or you're dead.
Well, isn't it like that for all of us, though?
Yeah, I mean, life in many ways is like that.
Yeah.
But the ones who will survive are the ones who actually persevere with a solution. Like, so the mentally ill, for example,
They're so screwed.
well, their way of survival is to beat about the bush constantly, and
Right.
they
And
think
get
this is the solution.
And get, but their way of survival is because people allow them to get away with their bullshit and they feel sorry for them. But people
Right.
are wise. I mean, a lot less people feel sorry for these people than in the past. So,
Yeah,
like this crazy bitch right here, she talks about, she goes into a little more detail about her dating and how, like, even going out in public with people, like, she keeps getting humiliated. I'm like, yes, people are being honest with her. Like, and this is why they might crawl under their damn little rocks.
well,
'Cause
that's the
People
new.
will stop
Yeah.
tolerating their bullshit.
Well, right. So it's not because they're bored and, you know, they just feel like climbing underneath a rock. No, this is for their safety and for survival. So it's become a necessity. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're right. Like in the 5 years leading up to where we are now,
Mhm.
yeah, society has allowed the coverts to be more adventurous. They've
Right.
enabled them.
Right.
But because even the enablers trying to enable are struggling themselves,
Oh yeah.
because how can you provide care to someone who's constantly moving goalposts or is unstable? It's a drain on anybody on the system as well. So
Yeah.
as much as people or the system tries to enable, there is a cut-off point where it's unsustainable.
Oh yeah.
So this, in part, maybe is why we're seeing collapses in all sorts of shapes and forms taking place.
Yep.
And this has been you know, the ill-minded, they're hypersensitive. They can feel the shift happening. They might not have the like cognitive awareness of what exactly is happening, but they can feel it.
Oh
And
yeah.
that fear, that anxiety is pushing them into like, we need to figure out what the hell we're gonna do. Like, we're gonna well, I need to manipulate some other people, and they'll go, right, I'll try and I'll go dating or something like that. It's like, no, that's not working either.
Right.
Okay, I'll try and try this instead. I'll try and get some new tattoos, or I'll change my appearance and I'll call myself a transition or something like that, and be like, this ain't working either. So time and time again, they're coming up against obstacles, and they're beginning to get the message now, which is like, well, one, this is draining and taxing on them because they're getting battered. It's backfiring and it's battering them. They're being exposed and ridiculed, and they're whether or not they're a narcissist, but the narcissistic component is telling them that you're failing, you're a failure. Every time you try these pursuits, you're making a mockery of yourself.
Yeah.
So what option have they got left but for them to retract and to go underneath the rock where it's nice and safe in the darkness, and back to primal instincts of like setting up webs or waiting for nightfall to move, the cover of night or something like that. So I'm not saying that they're going to disappear. Like, they'll still be around. It's just that they're not going to be out in broad daylight anymore. And even the thing is, even though they might go underneath the rock, they're fucked either way, really. I mean, this is why it's such a self-defeating illness, because they go underneath a rock and they start to starve out. They're getting older, so eventually, I mean, they still need to feed. That hasn't changed.
Right.
They still need the validation and things like that. They still need the accolades and recognition. So they still need to emerge at some point, but they're also very frightened to do that. And more and more people are wising up. What would help them is if the rest of society becomes complacent and thinks, oh, all these narcissists seem to have disappeared. We've eradicated the illness. It's like, no, you haven't eradicated it. It's just gone into hiding. But the guard gets lowered, and new victims are born, or something like that, or the lessons weren't taught, and so like this complacency and neglect comes in, and that'll be the opportunity for these rock dwellers to pop out again and try their luck. But by that point, hopefully they're too old and it's not going to be very effective. But either way, it's still a struggle. I mean, every day is a constant survival and worry for them anyway. But so that's my optimistic way of looking at it, I guess.
Yeah, but look, I'm gonna play a little more of this. Look at her. Her eyes fucking crack me up. But listen to what she's saying.
I don't know how you do it, Ashley. Like, I'm fucking done. The few times I have in the last 6 months, it's been a disaster. I've been triangulated. I've been abused. Like, I refuse. Like, I won't. Even in public, they abuse you. They're getting a lot more crazier and disrespectful in public. So yeah, I've been fucked with so many times and humiliated in public that I'm not even giving them the time of day at all. Like, no, guys, none at all. Like, I refuse. Like, I don't even want their attention. I don't even go out like in public with them because they'll wild the hell out. Narcissists are getting way more disrespectful and wilding the hell out, you guys, in public now. That, like, I even refuse to do that. Like, I know they're gonna go crazy in public, and they're gonna pull some shit, and I'm just gonna get so pissed off.
See, she never really talks about an instance. Like, that's what really bothers me about these survivors of narcissistic abuse. They're like, oh yeah, I was abused. And I've asked, like, I've pushed back and like questioned, because give me an example, and they would explain something that's like normal fucking boundaries, in my opinion. So then I was like, does that make me a narcissist? Because I think that's normal boundaried behavior. Or telling somebody no. Like, their reaction being completely not the right reaction to being told no, I always thought was spoiled as shit. So, I mean, this is good to hear. Like, she just told me that more men are sticking up for themselves. Because I don't buy this whole narcissistic abuse shit from her.
She did say she's not even interested, or she's not looking, but then she's talking about how she's looking, she's having these interactions with men. So there's a contradiction there.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with the title of the stream of hers in a way, like society is ignorant of narcissists. But I think so is she. Because if I was to give her the benefit of the doubt, let's say she's not a narcissist, but she's meant to be versed in narcissism, she should know enough. Then, like, it is said, like, the healthier you are as a person, the more solidified you are, the more put together and composed, etc., and things like that. Then you become kryptonite. A narcissist will stay the fuck away from you.
I know.
So she shouldn't really have a problem. But for her to have, apparently from the sounds of it, like interactions, instead of heeding the golden rule of like no contact, well, you've made a mistake there.
Well, she
Now, maybe
is the
some people just
narcissist that she describes, though.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm playing the game of that she's trying to portray. That she's the healthy one, that she knows what she's talking about, that she's got it all. I mean, if she's so well put together, then why is she having these problems?
Right.
Now, it's one thing to sort of fuck around with. I mean, people might say the same with me, kind of thing, but hopefully, like,
decided to hop on for a little.
like,
Sorry.
I try not to have such problems or be situations like she's having, you know. So for me, it's more of a case of, well, I'm in a densely populated area, and I prefer to integrate danger. I have my philosophy in a way is not to run from fire, but to actually understand how fire works, so that I can live beside it. You know, so
The super empath.
I don't need to necessarily go no contact from a narcissist.
Right.
If a narcissist knows what's best for them, they'll go no contact from me in a way.
I give them the opportunity to have a conversation if they want to play games. I give them that opportunity.
You know, because there's I suppose. I find it interesting because, you know, like, I learn a lot from them as well. Which is in part why I'm able to discuss it in such a length with all of you here. But there's like a misnomer that narcissists have poor boundaries. No, it's not the case at all, and that's like part of the misinformation about society being ignorant to narcissists. They have very good boundaries. It's just a one-way street, you know.
Right.
So you and I are bound. Like, other people aren't allowed boundaries. You're not allowed to have no access to a narcissist. A narcissist want access, but if you want not access to that narcissist, they'll definitely have a boundary against you. You know, like we're talking about withdrawing and saying no to society and becoming isolated. That's a boundary. That's the narcissist saying, you know, like, I'm not going to let anything hurt me. I mean, in part, this is the whole point of narcissism. Is a fucking boundary in the first place, is to prevent you getting to that fragile, vulnerable self. That's why the narcissism is there, to protect them. That's their shield, you know.
Right.
So they do have very good strong, rigid boundaries, you know. Like, you try to get a narcissist to apologize to you. It's never going to, you know. So there is no way, you know. You could twist, you could break their arm into submission. They'll never get a narcissist to accept accountability. Never. They would rather die than have to accept accountability. And you see that one happening all the time, how much they avoid it. Same with responsibility.
See, and I see a big difference in avoiding accountability and apologizing. Like, if I actually did something wrong to somebody and they were able to convince me that it was me being, because I have a hard time apologizing for the way somebody perceived something in their delusion. Like, but if they were like, if they gave me a good reason, like, oh, hey, you remember I told you about this thing in the past and then you just did it again, like, that I would be like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I said I would be cognizant of that because, you know, you already brought this to my attention, I said I would be cognizant of that, and I failed at that. I am sorry. But just some random stranger that's like, you said this word and it hurt my feelings. Like, I don't care. Like, because how are you going to know? Like, I don't even really know that person. And I've never agreed to any rules that I have with this stranger because they're a stranger. Like, why would I actually care about their feelings? Is that narcissistic, Billy?
It could be a little bit. This idea of like, I don't give a fuck about your feelings, or your feelings
A
aren't.
stranger.
It's this.
A stranger.
Well,
Somebody that has no care for mine.
yeah. I mean, that it's. I think that's easier. It's easier not to care about their feelings, I suppose, because they're a stranger. But this idea of even in the recovery sort of sector, they'll say like, look, listen, other people's feelings aren't your responsibility.
Right.
And that's true.
Right.
However, it's almost like a yes and no kind of thing, where at its core or at its base, it's correct. Like you aren't really responsible for how someone feels. However, you can.
There's the however word.
Right, I know. That's why it's a bit of an awkward one.
Yeah.
However, at the same time, you can have a bit of consideration of how your words would make someone feel.
Mm.
So, and there's also like a split where you have something that hurts someone to their core, or has just given their ego a little bit of a bruising.
Right. I don't think people should be allowed to get offended if you're just making a generalized statement because they're taking it personally. I don't think people should be allowed to do that. Like,
it's again, I think it ends up falling into that sort of situational awareness and consideration and what's appropriate, and having the social cues and having that balance of knowing how far to go, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like yes, you could say like, look, someone's feelings aren't your responsibility.
Right.
But if you got someone who is just laying into the other with horrific kind of language or something like that.
No, like calling him a crazy bitch.
No, even, well, maybe that might be enough. But I mean, like your mother should have aborted you or something like that, or
that's wishing death upon somebody. Like that's abusive.
Or like, I'm not sure how, like, trying to think, like, you're intentionally trying to upset the other person, rile them up and destroy the, you really are attacking them on an emotional level.
Yeah.
Then
that's a demoralization tactic, though. Yeah, but that's not just calling a spade a spade. That's different.
I think it depends on the circumstances. It depends on the person who is speaking, and it depends on the recipient.
Okay, say for instance, there's a crazy bitch that's being extraordinarily disruptive and abusive to her entire environment. Nobody really likes her. They just feel guilty because she, rambles on about all these victim things and how she deserves respect because of some ailment she's faking. The typical crazy bitch. But to point that out and say that's a crazy bitch, you guys don't have to tolerate that. Is that, I mean, because I'm looking at the bigger picture. I'm looking at everybody's feelings in that scenario. Like that crazy bitch cares nothing for everybody else's feelings.
Right. I mean, the if the crazy bitch is also a narcissist, I mean, they would be like,
right.
you're abusing me because you're not allowing me to abuse other people.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like, what? Yeah, you're bullying me because you're not allowing me to be a bully.
Right. You're oppressing my oppressiveness.
Yeah, my right to oppress people.
Right. My right to abuse people and
And the narcissist,
psychologically and emotionally rape them.
and the narcissist would also look at the target of their abuse and be like, but that's the purpose of this target. That they were born in order for me to abuse them.
Right.
Yeah, they don't even see him as a person. They see him as a punching bag or something like that. Like,
Right.
So from a narcissist point of view, they'd be a bit confused. They'd be like, why am I being, well, they're victimhood, so they'll be like, why am I being told off here? I'm only doing what I'm supposed to be doing, which is abusing someone who is supposed to be taking my abuse.
Yeah, Hermit. Most crazy bitches are narcissists. I agree, Hermit. And all narcissists are crazy bitches. So are all borderline and histrionic personality disordered. They're all crazy bitches. Yeah, that's why I'm excited to see where this this P factor thing goes. Sam Vaknin was talking about it. I haven't thoroughly looked it up, but I did listen to his video. I think he did it like a week ago. I've been meaning to like do a breakdown on it because I have some stuff to add. But I think I'm gonna just start writing some stuff. I need to organize properly the data points I've collected in the different ideological infection categories. There's a huge correlation with how many ideologies a crazy bitch takes on and the level of insane that they are and emotionally dysregulated. Because a lot of these ideologies are built on lies. So these people are, they've taken on these lies and they have to live out these lies and puppet these lies. And it's like a crazy bitch that's just a white feminist. I mean, they'll be more crazy bitchified if they're puppeting the white guilt stuff versus the Black women who are feminists. Like they're doing this whole slave narrative and vicarious trauma due to all that kind of stuff and feminist stuff. So those crazy bitches seem to be a little more emotionally dysregulated because they have a larger number of things that you're supposed to not let other people say.
Yeah, that's a little bit like we were saying earlier about they want every tool at their disposal.
Yeah,
they end up having this problem of being very impressionable.
right.
Vulnerable people are impressionable, and narcissists are actually vulnerable people. So any ideologies that come along, they're gonna in a general sort of way speaking, they're going to adopt and think, oh, this is cool. This is how to blend in with society. Like if society decides everyone should have a tail or whatever, they'll be like, okay, I'm gonna get myself a tail. Or everyone now has to ride what do you call those, like unicycles, like a one-wheel cycle. Okay, I'm going to get myself a cycle then. So they don't have any, because they got no sense of self anyway. They got no actual preference or personality of their own as such. So they just mimic and assimilate what's around them, which means they can potentially go over the top and become so multifaceted or multicolored or something like that, that it's just like you're complete. Like not only have you got blue hair, piercings and tattoos and implants and weird outfits, but
Yeah.
and multiple genders and multiple names, and you're from another planet, and you're from all the planets, and you're a empath, you're an angel. There's just so much like
Super duper group identity patriot. Super
it's like,
American.
it's like you get to a point, it's like you're now you're like, can we legitimately say you're a freak?
Yeah, you're fucking
you're
freak.
monstrous at this point, and it's like, oh
Yeah.
shit, I didn't know when to know boundary or poor boundaries, didn't know where to cut it off, kind of thing, and be like, nah, you know. So I mean, it's kind of fun. It might be a fun little prank to play on them, just to sort of see how far you can take their assimilation.
Like,
also they're also competing with everyone. So if a girlfriend has a new Gucci bag, it's like, right, the narcissist is like, well, I'm going to get myself a Gucci bag, you know, and it's going to be
right.
even more flamboyant than your one. So you've got the flamboyancy and the on show to garner the adoration and attention. You know,
Yeah.
so complete mess. Look
See,
at Madonna.
What about Madonna? What is she doing?
She's getting ridiculed for just basically for turning into what I'm describing.
Oh.
She's drinking water out. She's licking water out of a dog bowl.
What?
She's squatting over. She's taking images of herself squatting over a bottle. Like, I don't even know what this bottle is, but it's like pointed up her cooch. She just looks weird.
Yeah, I saw some pictures of her. I forget what, because I don't really pay attention to these fucking idiots very much. They all look the same, really, these days. The sausage lips and the fucking drawn on eyebrows, and the snuffleupagus lashes. They all end up looking the same.
And then you got that, and you compare that with like the lack of self-awareness.
Yeah.
They're oblivious. They don't even realize, why is everyone laughing at me? It's like, because you're a fucking clown, like you're a freak.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, but I thought it makes me look special, makes me look unique. It's like, well, yeah, that it does. But,
uniquely the same clowns. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder how much that is the shock and awe stuff.
The idea, because they're quite big fans of the idea of reinventing the new me, for instance. It's like, what happened to the old you? Oh no, I'm not that anymore. It's like, so what does that say when it comes to like a sense of identity and sense of self? There is no continuation. Right. Like you are something that is reproduced. You're manufactured. There's an old you that's now gone, apparently, and this is the new you.
Right.
What is that?
I think that stems, like, if you want to peer into their soul, it stems from them not even liking themselves. So they're trying to be everything that they're not.
Well, and that's the base of narcissism, to escape who they really are.
Yeah.
So anything else but who they really are is the objective.
Yeah.
But it ends up turning them into what I was saying before again, like this Frankenstein mess.
A homunculus. A homunculus. Yeah. Hermit, yes, we need to make wood chippers great again. I'm all for that. What? Frank is asking Hermit to hug a tree. Well, going forward, what do you have planned for your channel?
I'm mulling over a few topic ideas.
Yeah.
There's a long overdue. I want to do a clinical look at the pill philosophy, because I think, well, one, it's overdue, but it's a perspective I haven't heard anyone talk about. So I think it might be a bit insightful,
Yeah.
and beneficial.
Yeah.
But it requires a bit of production, like with slides,
Yeah.
like Blackboard, ideally.
That's right. I'm gonna do some writing. I think it's about time. I've had a lot of different clients tell me different things. One of my clients, like, because I update them on like the progression of the channel, who like I connected with, the latest crazy bitch on my list. And one of my clients, that it's actually a couple, they're both professors. I've been cutting their son's hair since his first haircut, and he's like 12 now. But they're both in hard sciences, by the way. And she was saying before, that it should be a play or like a musical. How to I guess condense what I've been doing and put it out, and to make something out of it. I don't really know. But she said a musical, and this last time she's like, no, it needs to be a series. Like a crazy bitch series. And like a crazy bitch profile.
There's a couple of like crime, I suppose it comes underneath the category of crime channels.
Mm-hmm.
I think they originally are like television programs, but you'll find them on YouTube. Maybe you could emulate something a little bit like that.
I want to write papers and have them published and make the universities. I mean, because these people are like, ooh, this paper's awesome. I just put in some papers in there, like slip one into each department and have them like link up with each other and them all say the same damn thing. They can use that to eradicate the feminism out of their own fucking field.
Give it a try.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I have a client today that she's retired. She's actually hard sciences, biology professor. She is a serious paper writer, though, and she does a lot of editing and what's the word? Tutoring and stuff for college people on writing paper. And she's been telling me, she's like, you need to write a paper. I'm like, come on, that's your thing. You write the papers. She's like, no, I'll show you. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm going to talk to her tomorrow about it. See how many papers she thinks I'll need. Because apparently you don't have to go to a university to get a paper published at a university. I didn't know that was a thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I used to go to school with someone who did work on an Arabic newspaper. But he's since then he became a games designer or something like that. Rich guy, rich guy now. Yeah, the basis of my band, our band. One of those people that we used to pick on. We were talking about earlier about bullying and building camaraderie. Yeah, he was someone that would make fun of playing his bass guitar, and he did well in life.
See, bullying.
Not saying that's the reason why he did well.
It gave a little extra motivation to do well in life. I don't know. There might be something to that. Iron sharpens iron, as Jeff was saying earlier. That's a typical saying that floats around pretty much all the bubbles.
You know, you're in a band though. Like every member of the band is shitting on the other members. You know, your guitar's out of tune. You're singing shit. Your drums
Yeah.
are crap. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Frank said the friendly banter. Yeah. I don't know what the hell my dog is on about. She keeps running outside. 6 in the morning.
There's a ghost out there.
It's probably an animal. It's not quite light yet. Hermit.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Bullying is a good thing. I got bullied in high school, and then I pulled my head out of my ass and started working out.
yeah, you don't. In this day and age, the way they are with the school and the anti-bullying week is they're trying to get them all to be like snowflakes.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It'd be funny if they give the kids homework and then they're like, "Oh, teacher, you're bullying me." It's like, "Oh, fuck! Now how can I give you homework?"
Yes.
No, when I do it, when I give you homework, that's not bullying. It's like, well, so I mean, this is that dicey. You know, you take things to the nth degree, and it comes full circle. Where it's like now you can't teach your kids any rules in the school, or
Right.
you know,
Right.
you must wear your school uniform. Why? Because it's part of the rules. It's like, well, that's bullying. You're making me do something I don't like. You know,
Right.
it's like, fuck's sake.
Yeah, that's what I thought was really strange about that little petting zoo circle jerk you stumbled upon. It's like they were bending over backwards to make you limit your speech by threatening all these things and shaming and guilting and abusing, and
Yeah,
it was interesting watching.
what was one of the comments? I said they said to me that they wanted to roll me over. I said, "Ooh, roll me over and tickle my belly." And they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, tickle your fingers that you're
Because
typing
it's
with."
just so hard.
No, you don't know where my fingers have been.
Right.
And what a weird thing to tickle. I mean, can you tickle fingers? I don't know.
I don't
I was really
know.
hoping for a belly rub, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and
But
you kept saying you were gonna leave, and then
I didn't want to leave.
Latin was like,
no.
I want you to stay, and then Scorpthought was like, oh well, nobody's making you go, or something. Like, no, stay here and pay attention to us.
You know, they're trying to infer that I only wanted to stay because of when I was being discussed. It's like, so you only want to stay when we're talking about you. It's like, no, I wanted to
Yeah.
do what you were saying, and you're not talking
Yeah.
about me anymore, so I need to be here. But we don't really need to talk about that anymore, really.
Yeah, they weren't fans of you not responding then when they were talking about themselves. I noticed that. Like, at least just a comment, any kind of comment when they were talking about themselves. Oh, that was funny. Well, chapter closed.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like you say, what I'm hoping to do in my channel is sort of to get back on the sort of subject matter, you know.
Yeah.
So the drama sphere or whatever. These, I know they'll pop up from time to time, but I think the way I'll be approaching it when those times pop up will just be like to depersonalize it and just make it as a generalization, just use it as a springboard to as a subject matter.
Yeah. Well, I've seemed to have collected all the different kinds of crazy bitches. So whenever a new one pops up that behaves just like the old ones, you can be like, leave that one alone. She's a combination of Melisande, Tucky, and Scorpthought. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I might find parts intriguing and be like, this is a new sort of twist on a similar theme or something like that. But I think what will end up happening, at least with how I'll be approaching it, is just taking it as an example for other information in the generalized sort of sense.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. They'll pretty much do the same thing.
Yeah. And there's also like trying to adhere to the principle of like, let's don't give them any attention or fuel or supply.
Yeah.
They're not really worth it.
No, they're not anymore. I've gotten all the supply I've needed from them to prove my fucking points that I was going to be making. So
That's another sort of. Sometimes we talk about the fuel and supply, like the narcissists, like vampires.
yeah,
But,
I let them feed off of us long enough.
I mean, it's actually like fuel and supply is actually a normal sort of, to some degree, like healthy thing in a regular sort of person. We all look for a sense of validation, for example.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're automatically a narcissist.
Right.
And I think that's another area where perhaps is why accusations of narcissists get thrown around so liberally,
Yeah.
easily, is because maybe someone, and it can kind of, if not careful, catch people out because maybe indeed this person was looking for, like, maybe they genuinely like, how do I look in this dress? Not in a sense of like, I want you to worship me, but like, is it like I'm wearing a clown costume, but we're going to a funeral? Is this good? And
Right.
like, nah, I don't think that's very appropriate. Okay, cheers. Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah.
So you're looking for a little bit of validation or confirmation, maybe is a better way of putting it. But then you could have some heckler in the background be like, aha, that person's a narcissist. It's like,
Right.
well, this is the inability to have the situational awareness or
Right.
the appropriate, like to calibrate or whatever. They haven't got the nuances understood.
Right.
So from a simplistic mind, yeah, okay, in your head there must be a narcissist. All right, it's easier for you to like compartmentalize it or acknowledge it or something like that, but that's not really what's going on.
Right. Yeah, Hermit. You got them all. The crazy bitchy man.
And that's also a result of the lowering of IQ and attention span.
Right.
That's another topic I want to cover, how narcissism is contributing to lowering IQ and attention.
And that's why, Billy, today we have self-driving cars instead of flying cars, because the decrease in fucking IQ.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
We should have been having flying cars, but now there's so many people that get in accidents that are even too stupid to not kill people on the road. So
yeah.
they had to make self-driving cars instead.
Well, it's like, so there's no foresight or consequence or long-term planning really. So it's like, oh yeah, we should put rockets on the back of babies so they could fly to nursery. Oh, that's a brilliant idea. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, let's roll that out. Now, then they're wondering, why do we have like babies being blown up in the sky. It's like, why do you think?
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Well, do you have anything planned for your channel next? Like a day picked out yet?
well, this week is a little bit busy, and I might have the week after might be a good window of opportunity, because I think when December rolls around,
Mhm.
It might be a bit chaotic on my end, or whatever.
Yeah.
The ramp up towards Christmas,
Mhm.
and then I don't know. I just want April to sort of roll around quicker. I'm not really looking forward to the winter,
Yeah.
so I don't know how productive I'll be.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the cold. It's been cold here for a couple days. I'm not looking forward to this. The cunt type of Pokemon.
Although in the start of December, I've got an appointment for my shoulder, so I'm looking forward to that, because I'll be able to get the use of my, like trying to put on a jacket is awkward,
Right.
because I've lost the range of motion. Yeah, so I can't, like, my arm can't reach around my back, for example.
Right. So just the appointment? Like
Oh,
you don't.
no, they'll inject a steroid. I think it's a steroid into the joint between your shoulder blade and your
Mm,
your humerus, your arm bone,
yeah.
right in the joint.
Mm. Yeah, that's not fun, Billy.
It's no problem. When I did the other one, I said to the doctor, that hurt less than a flu jab, and he was like, "Well, whoever's been doing your flu jab has been doing it wrong." Apparently it was supposed to. I mean, they had, when I had the other shoulder done, they had a nurse. So they laid me down on the bed, like sideways, and they say, put your arm in this sort of certain position, and we're gonna stab you in the arm. And this nurse is standing right in front of me, like really close, and I'm thinking, okay, this is a procedure that requires an assistant. And the doctor, like, is standing behind me and says, right, we're gonna sort of stab you in the arm, in the shoulder. And the needle goes in, and as he's administering the steroid, he says, your arm is going to feel like it's lifting up, and it's going to feel like it's swelling, and it's going to explode. And I felt that sensation. I was like, okay, fine. And I was uncomfortable, but the injection itself was fine. And then, he pulls the needle out and says, right, done. And I'm thinking, what was the point of this nurse then? He just sort of stood like really close, like I'm laying down and my face is basically like looking at her abdomen.
Mm-hmm.
And he says that she's there to hold your hand, like for support, like it came really bad, like, hold my hand. Like, oh, okay.
That's funny.
Wasn't required, so I don't know if there's going to be. I'm guessing there's probably going to be a nurse again.
To hold your hand.
And then it's instant take, like, it goes, right, like, move your arm around, tell me how it feels, because it's like, this procedure should instantaneously make your arm a lot better,
Mm-hmm.
So I start moving it slowly, and I'm like, ooh, like an aching, like, kind of, ooh, slowly, like. But then within a minute, I was like, oh yeah, oh, thanks a lot, doctor, that's fantastic. That's when I made the comment, like, yeah, that hurt far less than a flu vaccine.
Yeah.
So
did it? But it wore off after a while.
Well, the sort of soreness at first, like the sort of that wore off very quickly, and it was like, yeah, this is fantastic. Like, I wasn't like, I didn't need my arm in a sling or anything like that. Like, I don't have full, like, in terms of my right arm, I don't have full right, like, it's limited still, but the agonizing lightning pain is gone.
Mm.
So it's good as far as I'm concerned. Like, it's not the best of the best, and it's not like how it used to ever be, and I don't think it ever will. But in terms of usability and pain, I'm happy with the result. So hopefully the same will be with my left, and then
Yeah, my nana had a shoulder thing. She couldn't lift it past to like here. Like she couldn't lift her arm up over her head.
Yeah, that's basically, yeah. So it's like that. So if you put your like hands up, freeze, you're under arrest. I mean, I'll be fucked if they did that to me, because it'd be like, I can't put, they'll probably break my arm or something. But like my right arm, I can point it straight up, point to the ceiling.
Right.
As I move my left arm up, my torso, my ribs start to try and compensate. So I can't really point my left arm straight up. It's sort of bent at an angle, and my chest starts to like jut out, trying to do it. And when trying to put a coat on, it's difficult, basically. But hopefully that'll be fixed.
Yeah, you get shit to do, Billy. You get that healthcare system to get you good. They're not doing their damn job. Didn't it take forever to get in there?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like maybe knocking on a year for a simple procedure like that. I mean, I don't know. To me, it seemed like a simple procedure. They'll do an ultrasound to I don't know, just to verify where they're aiming. But that's quick little ultrasound, and then stab one injection. It's a long needle, obviously, because it's got to go right in between the joint of the bone. But just one injection, and that's all there is to it, basically. And how it's taken so long is just annoying and frustrating. But it is what it is. It's getting worse and worse in a way, because we've got so many immigrants coming in now that the UK, in terms of like infrastructure, economy, housing, maybe you guys have heard about it, but we're quickly getting more and more fucked over here.
Yeah, the immigrants.
We're now paying France to keep immigrants over there to stop them coming here. Like, where's this money?
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's because they keep trying to come over on boats, and they've been very successful. Like the beaches are now just littered with immigrants. And from my understanding, a lot of them are coming from France. So the British government are paying the French to keep the immigrants over there. But I don't see how to solve the problem. I mean, you still have this mass exodus of people.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
I've heard stories like they're arriving in Spain on jet skis.
What?
So like black market kind of style-y, or gangster style-y, like there's some sort of organizing going on where you pay, I don't know, like 2,000 or 3,000, whatever currency it is. You get a jet ski and you just go across the seas.
Oh, the salty Gen Xer. Haven't seen his wife in a while.
Yeah, and along with these immigrants, we're having outbreaks of disease. I've forgotten what disease it is, but I know the cause of it is a lack of hygiene.
Hmm.
So, you know, and then the schools have like, because the immigrants are having children, they brought children over, so they need schooling. So there's a pressure on the schools to have this inclusivity, which is just keep on welcoming it. It's just like, so apparently now we're at a point where statistically, I think it's like only, I think it's 1 in 6 residents or 1 in 6 of the population is actually, I can't remember if it's actually like natively, like born native to England, or is an immigrant.
Hmm.
I can't remember which way around it is, but I heard a statistic of 1 in 6.
Well, somebody's got to have children, though. Yeah, you guys aren't keeping up with the birth rate, so isn't that why they let all these people in to begin with? Because of the crashing birth rates was one of the reasons.
That's one of the sort of theories, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
apparently the immigrants don't want the lower sort of class type jobs, so
No,
you
why
got
would they?
well, there's a leak because when they come over, I think it takes 1.5 years for them to get processed, and they're not technically allowed to work during that time. So when they come over, they're on benefits for 1.5 years. They're living in hotels.
Mhm.
But even then, let's say 1.5 years passes, they still don't want to accept having like warehouse job. So I don't know what qualifications they have, or what kind of expectations, but they're basically milking the system over here. They're laughing at us
Yeah. Well.
whilst living in hotels. They're
Mhm.
thinking, this is nice.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, you guys are spoiling the shit out of them.
Mm.
I mean, I blame the feminists, of course, but those caretaking policies that women in politics like
I mean,
to.
I don't want to sound too mean, like Ixnay on the sort of immigrants, whatever. But
Yeah.
no, I'm just mean like in terms of statistics, I think in Europe we've got the highest ratio of allowing them on the land. I mean, we're at full. Basically, what I'm saying is like we're at full capacity, and it's not sustainable, and more are still coming. So it's I don't know what the hell's gonna happen.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know what's really gonna happen here.
Other countries in Europe are sort of waking up to the problem of it, and are beginning to be like, no, we have to close our borders, but not England.
Yeah. Didn't you guys have this big thing to where you can say no? Isn't that what Brexit was all about? Because a lot of people wanted to say no, and the EU was like, "Oh no, you can't say no because it's all this."
We're too fickle over here. So we've got the problem of like, I don't even know who Rishi Sunak, I think, is the prime minister now. But how long he's now caving in? He's finding problems being in his position. So we've got issues of our prime minister and politics, and the population is. I don't know. It's like buyer's regret. Like it's coming into conversation. Like what's happening with Brexit? Are we still out of it, or do we want back in? How is this all gonna work?
Right.
It's just as a general kind of blanket statement. Like the culture over here is becoming so wishy-washy that it's hard to forecast what's going to happen in the next year or two.
Right.
Like 1 minute the school, like bringing it back to the school, for example, like last year they made a profit in their funding, probably because they were charging parents left, right, and center every damn chance they could. But now suddenly this year they're in the negative, so they don't know if they're going to become a academic type of school or a national. I think it's academic status or national stat. I don't know. I have to find out the meanings of those terms. But there's this big kind of kerfuffle where basically, like, the schools aren't sure. They're not sure what the future entails, and so they're trying to work out what their options are within these parameters that keep moving around. So it sounds very risky and nothing concrete or so 1 minute they'll say this, then they'll say that. So it's just hard to gauge it, And then there's bank collapsing, pension funds are at risk, bonds, more and more debt is being made. It's.
And the women that are in charge are like, just print more money, just throw more money at all these things, right?
I suppose they might be saying something like that, but I haven't really heard any of them speak in such a way where they're saying that that's what will fix the solution. I think they're a bit more self-absorbed.
Well, until we get our shit together here, I don't really see a lot of other places getting. I mean, I don't know. I see some people really cracking down in other countries on the whole feminism thing, but I think they get so much pushback from the superpower being America that exports it pretty consistently.
Yeah. From personal exposure to what I see around, I suppose I do see a lot of feminists, but I do see a lot of more socialist, I guess.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Well, feminists are socialists.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of, I mean, even like out of some of the guys who they mean well, they're nice people, but they'll have the socialist kind of talking points, like, oh, we need to think about pollution. It's kind of like, what do you mean we need to think about pollution? This isn't like the Industrial Revolution here. We're living in smog cities. It's pretty good, like you're standing right next to a tree.
Right?
There's no cars on this road because the road's been blocked. So why are you complaining about pollution? Why, are you asthmatic? Why, are you dying?
Right.
You seem fine to me. It's something I've noticed as well, that a lot of them don't seem to do their homework. So that means that they're very easily gullible fools, where it's like, oh, we need electric vehicles. And it's like, yeah, but you do realize that because we need electric vehicles because it's better for the environment. It's like, yeah, but you do realize when it comes to mining the lithium, I mean, land is dug up to mine. So you want trees, but you want the lithium as well. Like, how does that work? Yeah. And there's the argument that a lot of the lithium is dug up with child labor. And I said this one to them as well. They were a bit. The brain was calculated. I said, you do realize that electric vehicles wear out car tires a lot faster,
Right?
so they need replacing a lot quicker. They're like, huh? Because those vehicles are heavier than regular vehicles because there's fucking batteries inside them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh shit.
Which take a lot of mining, right?
Right.
There's a lot that goes into these really expensive batteries.
Yeah. And you do realize digging up the entire country to embed the infrastructure for these electric charging points. I mean, they're getting screwed now actually, because do you, over where you are, you don't pay? Do you pay road tax?
There's taxes that you have to pay when you, I guess, register your car.
So you
Like
don't have
a
year-
yearly.
Yeah. Oh, so okay. Well, over here we have a road tax. It's meant to, in theory, keep the roads maintained.
Right.
And when the electric vehicles first came out, the government were like, "Hey, these will be exempt from road tax because they're good for the environment or whatever." But the government have gone back on this word now, so they're going to have to start paying road tax, and they're pissed off with it.
Mm. How do you pay it though? Is it like a yearly?
Yeah. So I pay £160 road tax a year.
Oh wow. Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah. And then we
I
got
mean,
the
it only costs like $80 to register, do the yearly registration on my car, so it can't be. But I think part of that is like a road tax. I want to say.
I mean, every driver is pissed off with road tax because they're like, the roads are shit around. What the fuck
Right.
are money going for?
I don't know. I mean, there's tolls and stuff when you get close to the cities. There's like toll roads that you can drive on that are like more expensive, I guess. And you
Yeah.
pay this easy tag thing.
In certain areas we have tolls, and in the centre of London we have the what we call the congestion charge. That's another sort of scam.
What?
Congestion.
Congestion.
Because there was a time, I can't remember when it was introduced. There was a time when it was argued that central London was so crowded with cars that this is a bad thing. So to try and limit people traveling through the centre, they were like, right, this zone, this congestion charge zone, you'll have to pay to go through it. But because businesses have to operate, like we had to suck it up basically.
Right.
And so if you go traveling in central London, you would like, the idea that was being sold is that this is going to basically clear out the streets and make it there are hardly any cars here. But you go there today, you'll still see cars just as much as you did before. Yeah, and I think some of these cars were depending if they're very modern, they can be exempt or something like that, or maybe the disabled people can be exempt. There's a few exemptions, but all these ideas are just racketeering. Just how can we make more and more money out of people?
Yeah. More and more taxes. Well, you got to feed all those immigrants somehow.
Yeah. But it's just funny with the electric car owners, because there they are, all virtually higher morally, they're superior, like, oh, we're doing good for the environment. It's like, yeah, well, you're going to be paid, you're going to be screwed just like the rest of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Douglas said hi, by the way.
Hey, Douglas.
Yeah, I think a lot of the guys are just waking up over here at 6:30 in the morning. What time is it where you're at?
12:30 is lunchtime. So
Lunchtime?
12:30, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting sleepy, Billy.
Yeah, you want to close it up?
Is there anything else we need to add to the Crazy Bitch chapter? The petting zoo chapter? I've gotten them all. I have no more need for any more crazy bitches. So I've collected them all from all the realms. So I have enough to prove that there's crazy bitches in all of them. And as soon as the rest of them get kicked out of the MGTOW space, MGTOW will be the only place where crazy bitches aren't. So
fingers crossed. The only thing I can say is, like, don't forget to visit the souvenir shop.
The Crazy Bitch souvenir shop. Well, she asks for my opinion on things and then just dismisses what I tell her, and she makes him do everything around the house. Yeah, Salty's asking. He's got a neighbor that's a feminist. My first thought was cut their power. We'll see how long she remains a feminist. But when she asks for your opinion, just say, I'm not giving it to you because you don't fucking listen anyway. And that'll put a stop to that. As far as makes him do everything around the house, I don't really know. If it's like cooking, cleaning, all that kind of stuff. This conversation, though, is super important. I'm going to share this again. This is Milo Yiannopoulos on Timcast. Send that to him, Salty. He might like that. He can do it while he does the dishes or something.
I would just start acting like sort of like a unhinged, triggered. Just whatever the question is, just be like stunning and brave. Just reflex.
Yeah. Act like a hostage. Yeah, emotional hostage. So were you feeling, just one last question about the circle jerk thing that happened. Like, was there any point in that where you questioned yourself? Where you were like, I mean, because I know you kind of initially went into it like, ooh, I'm gonna toy in this area a little bit, and then more and more people kept showing up, and
I could feel the piling on, and like this is like I need to exit, I need to go, because prolonged exposure isn't going to be very good, not healthy and whatever. So and nothing was going to be gained.
Right.
So I gave a few smart aleck kind of replies or responses.
Yeah.
But I thought, I'm not gonna. I mean, yes, I said fine, I'll retract, but it was like it wasn't a.
When dealing with the perpetually insincere.
Yeah, it's like just like
empty words.
Pretty much, basically.
Yeah.
Like there's they want to be dishonest with me, so there's no reason why I shouldn't be dishonest back in a way.
Right.
If you want to hear my retraction, you could have watched that 4-hour stream where I covered the section on retraction.
Right. But listen, like witnessing them go through all the motions to get you to submit was interesting. And how all these different women who don't know each other, don't work together, whatever, you're all fucking ganged up on you.
When I don't know, like, what's the best way of me sort of putting it? As far as I'm aware, or as far as I know, I kept myself, like, psychologically speaking, in my safe space. So whatever was being thrown at me or said to me or triangulated towards me or whatever, I don't think I was compromised in that sense, or at too great a risk, or is going to mess with me afterwards, like as a sort of had been traumatized in a way.
Right.
Yeah. Now, from their point of view, did they feel like they worked their magic and were successful? I don't know. I don't really care.
They
Yeah.
did, because after that, actually, I think Alice was really happy, and she removed her last post. I think it was the one where she made up all these different hashtags, and then she was like, "I dethrone thee" or some bullshit, like some weird thing. And she took that off after that stream, which I thought was weird because she was saying how, I mean, she was blaming what I do on you. So, like because you confirmed my bias, like I've been on this kick and I've been just repeating it because you said so. Even though, like, I knew that was emotionally and mentally abusive, and that's why I kind of showed you to torture you guys with it. Like, she gives me no fucking credit, which I find fucking strange. She was still trying to make excuses for me and putting the blame on you, which I thought was fucking weird, Billy. I'm like, wow, this sisterhood is strong. She had you cornered, and all of a sudden it wasn't my fault, it was yours. That was unexpected.
Objectives and goals typically make people like that a little bit narrow-sighted.
Yeah.
You know, so they're a bit gung-ho and focused. So they kind of, so the stance they take in general starts to shift.
Yeah.
So I suppose at that moment in time, I became the focus of contention.
Yeah. Yeah.
They only really need one boogeyman, one thorn in their side, the ultimate infidel or whatever, that takes their ire. So typically when you hear stories and recollections of narcissistic type people, they'll just harp on about one particular person that they're just that fixation and obsession with.
Right. Yeah. I think it also,
sorry.
I was going to say, I think it's also another symptom of them being feminists. And they can try to hate me all they want, but fundamentally, these man-hating bitches are going to revert back to their base. Their, like, I can get all up in their face all they want, or all I want. I guess maybe if they're not deprogrammed out of that habit of blaming all men all the time, it's not going to stick. Like, here's a man, oh, it's the man's fault. Like, why did you say that? She's been doing all this because you said that. Like, even though it's like the opposite, which is weird. The sisterhood, there's something to that. I know a lot of the guys say it all the time. The sisterhood's strong and blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, they'll throw each other under the bus to save themselves.
I mean, like, I'm not really. I'm aware that there's not really anything personal.
Yeah.
To me, you know, I'm a figment of their imagination in a way.
Right.
Not even really that even. So I think I'm losing my voice now. Yeah. So everything that's basically transpired is it lacks substance, and it becomes poppy talk.
You know, right, because you're not a person, you're just a penis at this point.
I'm not even sure if it's even that. You know, it's just
the person with the penis, the man.
Not really. I think more a symbol of their own discontents, whether that be their arrogance filtering through, or prestige or something like that. So those are the sort of core issues which are problematic for them, and I become just a vessel for them to try and deal with these issues. So it's really their character traits that are the problem, not me as a guy or me as a penis. It's problems they're having with themselves, but they can't deal with it themselves. They need a surrogate to do it, to be able to try and deal with it for them. That was my function. So it's got nothing really to do with me. It's you could substitute me for anybody, and they would still do the same thing pretty much. So in terms of talking points and arguments that are being made, I know there isn't really any substance behind it, and it's not really gonna make any difference to me. So in a way, I'm a little bit immune to it, or cut off from it. Like the only way it could really affect me is if if my issues push me to want to have it affect me.
Right.
But then you got an arena of two individuals, or however many individuals, coming to the same place but not being able to see one another. It becomes a mess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I noticed they were losing steam. I mean, when it was back when Coiffé was on the campaign, he got 12 emails, and then Brandon Trueblood got 11. And by the time Tony Bruno came to my channel, he said he only got 8 emails. So I'm like, they're losing people here. And then, you know, a lot of the other people started pissing off. I think they were getting tired of the shit or bored of the shit, or they saw the light. Maybe they kind of tucked tail because they were like, ooh, maybe I backed the wrong horse here. And then, funny story, at the end of it, there was like 3 major ones that I've been pointing at the whole fucking time, that I'm like, yep, this is where this crazy bitchery is originating from, people. And there they were. It was kind of beautiful. Meanwhile, they don't know each other, right? Well, I'm kind of done with them as far as on YouTube. I have a lot to do with them behind the scenes, though.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm done. I mean, the only interaction I was having was based around this parental thing with her son, and I did and said what I needed to say, what I felt I needed to say, and there's not really much. I mean, there is more I could add to it, but there's no point me directing that to Alice. I might as well just have it as a subject matter about. Well, I already did a stream about narcissists, but as
sons of narcissistic mothers, something.
parenting.
Yeah, but a message to sons of narcissistic mothers that you'll never hear until you're older, or something. Like, this is what your mom doesn't want you to hear. Or
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of other examples in I can pull from that have this sort of dynamic, and whether or not it's you would call it narcissist. Well, that's one of the things about my channel is and one of the qualities that I'm known for amongst this community is the narcissism thing. So I'll be applying that to whatever sort of situation.
yeah.
Just in case others is listening and is like, oh, he's accusing me of being a narcissist now. It's like, no, whatever.
Like, definitely dwell under the crazy bitch umbrella, though.
Where are your credentials? Well, here are my credentials. They don't mean anything. What's the point of asking me then?
Right.
Yeah, there's that whole argument all the time you hear. credentials, and I'm like, no, so you're worried then?
Yeah. Oh yeah, super worried.
You're worried that someone who might have credentials would have a higher say or authority on the subject matter.
Oh yeah.
Never
Yeah.
mind. Never mind.
We're just the gatekeepers. Like I'm just the one that collects the things and then takes them to the
I mean,
people to sort out.
the amount of times I wanted to throw it back in their face and be like, where are your credentials and where are your opinions aren't facts and allegedly back to you kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Nope.
That one thing. Did she hold a gun to your head? I was like, oh yeah. Where was that on the video?
Right.
That was said to me. Where was that where did you see that in the video, Billy?
Yeah, if you're doing what they doing or taking it literal. Like, oh yeah? They only take things literally when they're dodging it.
It makes them look silly as well.
Yeah.
And especially to regurgitate it as a talking point and to try and focus on it as well. Like, no, here's my proof. It's because it's not in the video. Me twisting his arm is not in the video, so that's my proof. Like,
oh, how do we know? We didn't see his arm.
Well, yeah, but
It could have been, Billy. It could have been tied behind the kid's back.
Well,
we only saw from here down, or from here up.
No, but what it says, even more stronger, more devastating, is that you don't need to tie his arm around his back.
Oh,
You've got such a pulling the strings or whatever it is, a control that it doesn't require you to do anything physical.
Right.
So if you want to make that argument, it's actually going to, like I was saying in the stream, it's going to backfire because it implies or it infers that what you're doing is so much worse that you don't actually have to hold a gun to his head or tie his hands or twist his arm or any of this. He is already trained or conditioned and with fear, because if he disobeys, he'll reap the consequences, which is far more abusive for a word or conditioning.
Well, and you know what's so screwed up about all this? A woman that has to resort to physical violence lost at what her superpower would be. Like, she's super incompetent at what a woman is actually better at than a man. That's what I don't understand about these feminists that are like, oh, I want to fight and I'm going to get physical, and like their failure to communicate properly, or I don't know. It's just weird.
Well, fighting and getting physical and being angry is, like a primal response. It's when all else fails, become a crazy wild
fascist,
and just lash out and just go nuts, crawl at the face or whatever. By which point, sensibilities have gone out the window long ago. They're not thinking clearly. This is why people in red pill rage, they need to be a little bit careful, because when you're angry or in that sort of state of being, you don't even have to be angry, but if you're in survival mode, your awareness shrinks down and you make poor judgment decisions.
Oh yeah.
I think I described it once before. It's like, let's say you get angry. So you decide to pull out a gun and shoot someone. Now, is that a good idea? No, not usually. Not because you're angry,
Right.
But in the heat of the moment, it seemed like a good idea. You hear that? Oh, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Right.
Well, that's it. At the time, when you weren't thinking clearly.
Right. Yeah, people like to lash out, don't they?
This is the way the world is going, unfortunately, because more and more people are becoming with anxiety building, like what the future holds, uncertainty. So uncertainty is starts pushing people into survivalistic mindsets, and you have all these. It starts to cascade down. So critical, higher brain function goes out the window. You're left with emotional thinking to see you through day to day. And this is why we have such a large population of emotional thinkers, because if people want to talk about oppression, I mean, in a way, that's the sort of true oppression, but it takes the form of regression, really.
Right.
Like being a mature, well thought out person. I mean, also it takes more energy in terms of brain power. It takes more energy to use contemplation and to be considerate and all this sort of stuff. It's almost like a luxury or a privilege, and if people don't have that,
God, Billy, come on now. What are you saying? The smarter, more disciplined people are privileged, Billy?
They've got the luxury, yeah, in a way, because they
earned that. That's a
yeah.
It's not a privilege.
It's a great, because the ones who don't have it, they're not that privileged in that sense. So all they've got is what do they have left? It's the reptilian brain. So they're not very privileged.
Wait, is privilege the same as advantaged? Is that the same? Because when I think about privilege, I think of something that isn't earned. Privilege definition. Okay. A special right, advantage, or immunity granted or available only to a particular person or group. That's, the new. I wonder what my old dictionary says.
I retract that, because I suppose what you could say then is everyone has the
skill.
Everyone has the opportunity to be. It's accessible to everyone, but those who decide or those who are find themselves where they are unable to use such brains in that kind of way, they end up resorting to the emotional, instinctual, impulsive way of surviving or dealing with things.
Well, if somebody knocked them out every time they lashed out, they would, and if they didn't get their way when doing that, they would probably stop doing that pretty quickly. They only do that because it's worked for them in the past.
They'll stop doing it when they are given some time to think and to work, to be able to process it, and then they can kind of deduce or conclude, like maybe I should stop doing that, and that's using higher brain function.
Right.
But if they're constantly being hit and they're instantaneously trying to punch back or do something else, like impulsively speaking, then there's no room for this critical thinking. Critical thinking requires, this is in part why your streams take so long, is because
right.
We're not just sitting here saying, like, fuck them people, yeah, fuck them, and I hate them, yeah, fucking
right.
Asshole.
We're always trying to parse through a question to get to some kind of conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see any hope for these crazy bitches, though.
Maybe instead of the word privilege, maybe I was trying to. I was thinking of the word fortunate, maybe.
No, because that to me that would imply a bit of luck and not a result of something you've worked on yourself that you
Well, it does take
deserve.
a little, yeah, it does take a little bit. I mean, even the healthy and most critically thinking type of person, depending on their circumstances, you can push someone into a position of. There will be times in a person's life where they will be a bit impulsive.
Hmm.
You know, so you could abuse someone. Essentially, I suppose it'd be like abuse or whatever their circumstances. Let's say they lost a job and they lost their house and um, their spouse has died or something like that. So um, their sense of security has now been jeopardized.
Yeah.
Now they're in this vulnerable category. So there you go. That's like the pathway into emotional thinking.
Yeah.
So it could happen to the best of us,
Yeah.
Um,
But if you get a crazy bitch like all the ones on my list that just get to mosey around life, very privileged, where people give them shit that they don't deserve and they're spoiled because of it and they throw little temper tantrums when anybody tries to tell them the truth,
well, I suppose it's really a question of
that's
how well
different.
brain development really.
Yeah, they've
For
been
those sort of people,
emotionally
they've
retarded.
right, they never really had the. Even if you gave them the luxury of time, they wouldn't really do any critical thinking because there's no brain to do the critical thinking in the first place.
Right, because they're fucking retarded because society has retarded them.
And the
And
the,
I
the goal for someone who is uh, more of critically mind, even though
yeah,
they might find themselves in a situation of instability
yeah.
or insecurity. I mean, this is why they sort of say, if you can, like, let's say you catch yourself in the heat of the moment, to relax and slow down and breathe and think, and then hopefully your situation will change because you're actually now doing some real thinking.
Yeah.
So
I
it's not
mean,
like you've
they're
lost that
right.
ability. It's just it's been
Yeah.
cut off, or you're not accessing it
Right.
at the moment.
I mean, people's lives get flipped upside down all the time, and
Yeah,
it takes a bit to recorrect.
yeah,
But I'm talking about the crazy bitches that they live in an upside down world because maybe their parents, you know, they think they were good, but they emotionally and like abuse them to the point to where they didn't allow them to grow and develop. So they're perpetually retarded
yeah.
children.
Pretty
Yeah.
much, they're
Yeah.
stuck. There is no development of like the higher brain function, generally
Right.
speaking, loosely and generally speaking.
Yeah.
I mean, if there is, it's not something that there's been well explored or practiced, so it's not very
Right.
effective. I
Yeah.
mean,
Even the institutions like giving preferential treatment to women first girls and then a double dose of that preferential treatment if you're a black woman
yeah, I
like
think there's actually an element of aversion towards it as well, because if you start making the comparison with like a magical way of thinking, like the emotions are a magical way of thinking and dealing with things,
mhm,
where the person feels safe and secure because they control that magical world
right
through their tyranny, compared to reality, which is the
right
more critically minded way of looking at things.
mhm,
So if they don't really like reality, then they're going to have to sort of push against critical thinking because it's not compatible with emotions.
yeah
We see
yeah
that we have this internal battle inside the brain where you got this maybe like the two hemispheres trying to battle it out, or we could describe it as cognitive dissonance, where maybe they might know in the back of their mind what the right thing to do is, but they're going to still opt for this other way of looking at it.
yeah mm. On to the next thing. they're really going to be upset if they get ghosted in plain sight, though. That's really going to drive them crazy. Like, pretend that they don't even exist and they never existed and they don't mean anything anymore.
Yeah.
The crazy bitches.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's
Yeah.
their problem, really.
I know. Yeah. Well, should we call it a morning?
I'm gonna have lunch, so
Okay.
I think you're gonna get some sleep or something.
Yeah, I'm going to take a nap before I see my... Now that I've unloaded a lot of shit that's been rattling around in my brain. Yeah, it helps to bounce it off of... Well, you, Billy, one of them. But talking about the mental aspects and psychology aspects of stuff that I've been thinking about is helpful.
Oh, I'm glad it helps, and
Yeah.
find it intriguing or whatever. And, you know, it's nice to discuss it as well, I suppose. From my end, like, you know, helps me organize some thoughts as well.
Yeah. All right. So we're not going to be allowing them to be privileged anymore. Is that the conclusion we came to? So is it yes, it's time to close the petting zoo chapter? I feel like we got to come to a conclusion after all that.
Yeah, it's like the final discard is up to us, really, and
Yeah. It is.
I don't see any. I mean, I'm not speaking on your behalf. It's up to you. Like, I know you seem you want the crazy bitches are your sort of thing.
Yeah.
But me personally, I've got nothing. Not really any interest. I can't even think of anything. I mean, I never bothered to speak to Alice before until this whole child thing with the parent. That's the only time I felt the need to speak up about it, really.
Right. Well, all right. So they will be discarded, I guess. I mean, publicly. I don't really have anything to say to them. Except thanks, crazy bitches.
I mean, the other members, I don't have anything to say to those people either, anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. All right. Well, chapter closed. From now on, Alice and Scorpthought just don't even fucking exist. So they will be getting zero of my attention publicly anymore. I will be using them for fucking example after example, though, of crazy bitches in our society that need not be tolerated anymore. So, all right. Well, have a good night, everybody. Thanks for joining this. Billy?
catch you all later. Mandy, take
Yeah.
it easy.
All right. Cheers, everybody in the chat.